So you're chatty. I'm chatty.
Especially with beer.
I'm chatty. Do you want beer?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no.
Um.
You know I'm on the drive for this med.
So how long has it been then?
2 days.
Okay.
I'm a little moist, but it's
There's
working.
The meds are working.
Yeah. I couldn't have wore these pants a week ago. I
Because
would have never got over the knee. So
because of how
already,
swollen it was.
yeah.
That's insane. How much was the other knee as bad?
Yeah, well, that's really,
Oh, that's still swollen.
yeah, but it's really moved a lot more. But this leg was never as bad.
Okay, so that
This one took all the damage when I got hurt took a
yeah. Now
50-foot fall on a job.
is now the medication that you're talking about. It's gonna start allowing it to excrete.
Yeah, it's already doing it.
Okay, now you're saying just a 50-foot fall because I did do a little research on you. There's a few things that I want to talk about. One, were you an MMA fighter?
I was an MMA fighter before it was that, yeah.
So what was it called? Like King of the Cage?
Well, I ended up in something that eventually became called the U.S. Extreme Combat. But ultimately, when we were fighting in like Levitt warehouses where they were clearing out space. Like I won my championship fighting in the bottom of a glass factory because space was available.
Championship of what?
Of what became the U.S. Extreme Combat.
Now, were these only military individuals?
No, it was anybody that could fight.
Where was this?
Well, it was all over Long Island. It was all through Canada, Colorado probably back then.
Where did you start training for this?
I started training maybe when I was 6.
Oh,
My dad had opened our house to, I don't know, for lack of a better term, disenfranchised servicemen whose families kind of turned their backs on them from coming home from Vietnam.
really?
So our basement was almost like a dormitory for years.
How many people would you take at a time?
They were rolling in and out. Could be 4, 5, 6.
So your father would take in individuals that families would have taken away because of addiction or because of PTSD or...
Well, or because their politics didn't go along with the war. You know, you got to understand with stuff like that, people's politics roll over the fact that nobody volunteered for it. They were drafted.
Now,
You know, whatever your view was, you were going, or you're going to jail.
see, that blows my mind. That's terrifying. And our draft ended after Vietnam, right? There's no more draft after?
Yeah, we just have the registration.
See, that's terrifying. I heard an individual speak yesterday. As you know, I don't drink, so it was at a particular meeting, and he talked about how he signed up, wanted to go into the military, and he actually has an interesting story. I'd love to talk to him one day, but I think he considered himself a provost, and he hunted down runaways. So he hunted down individuals that went AWOL. And now with your dad taking in these individuals, I guess then?
I don't think my dad asked him what this situation was. There were people that he knew, people maybe he worked with, or maybe he came across in the bar. The one thing my dad was a big, charming guy. I mean, he was huge. He was a presence in the room. My dad was, 6'6", 6'7". He was 55 pounds without an ounce of fat on him. The guy was a
6'7"?
beast. Who knows? My uncle was 6'8", so my dad was just a tiny bit shorter than him.
So,
My dad never really stood straight because he was always leaning over to talk to people, so I never got a good read on what he was. He never ran around telling anyone his height.
did he fight as well? Like, all right, so you're saying you started
My
fighting.
dad fought in bar rooms, not
Okay.
not anywhere official. No.
When you say you started fighting at 6 years old, like in a dojo, like in a studio or in a...
No, actually in a bocce court in the park up the street from our house.
What's a hibachi court?
Bocce ball.
Oh, bocce
I'm
court.
sorry. Yeah.
Oh.
The New York accent's going to screw some stuff up here.
No, you're fine. I think. Well, if there's any New Yorkers that listen to this, I think
Yeah.
it'll be fine. So anything that you need pulled up, Matt can pull it up if we can't understand your New York accent. But I mean, now when you're in a bocce ball court, you're saying you just went in there and you were like, I just want to fight somebody, or were you trained in jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing?
Well, then we were boxing. How it works out is the neighborhood was typical Irish neighborhood. We were in Cedarhurst on Long Island in the Five Towns. So there was a small section of Cedarhurst, 4 blocks, main 4 blocks that were considered Sageville, which was the residences for people that worked for Old Lady Sage, which owned a mansion and acres of land, and that eventually became Cedarhurst Park. So you could tell their houses because they had little brick columns on every corner. They were all wrapped in a fence. So that eventually became like an Irish enclave. And then a few blocks over was an Italian one, and the rest of the neighborhood was basically Jewish.
And so your main style of fighting would just be stand-up boxing?
Well, back then it was because we had, with my cousins taken in by my parents, we had 7. The Lynches across the street had 11. The O'Rourke's had 9. The O'Connors had 12. So each house was like a little street gang.
Okay.
So we would go up to the park and we'd start seeing who had what and just box and fight and kick the crap out of each other. Nobody even took it personal. You know, you picked the guy up, you dusted him off, and you laughed. You made a friend.
It's not like that today.
When the servicemen started coming in, we had a few that I guess were special forces in a sense. You can remember I'm a little kid, so I don't really remember what their particular MOSs were. So they started teaching my brothers and myself to fight with this half martial arts, half military combat, half street style, which then morphed into a style which is very similar to the fight thing, was American combat karate. That was made by a bunch of Marines and soldiers, and it was a pretty brutal fighting style. Basically, when they would try and go into competitions, they got banned because it was just straightforward, brutal. Take your man out in 3 moves. If he's still standing after that, you failed.
I mean, because the fighting that occurred before UFC 1 was mainly going to be, it was karate. There was karate, and then there was stand-up boxing and things like that, and then it was a lot of that. And then if you go back to like Hoist Gracie coming in UFC 1, right? It was Hoist, right?
Right.
Who was the first one?
Right.
And then he brings in jiu-jitsu, and no one could take that down for, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5 of the UFCs. Jiu-jitsu's winning all the time.
Well, Hoist Gracie certainly was, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, leading up to that, you had your kickboxing, you had your normal karate competitions, say like the Taekwondo heavy style that Chuck Norris had, where Chuck Norris was becoming a champion and cleaning up the world. You know, getting him the invite to get his ass kicked by Bruce Lee.
Jeet Kune Do, right? Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah.
Now, if you're saying, all right, so you get in, you start doing this fighting. Is this post-military?
Well, I'm not going to go into military.
Okay.
So. No.
No, now it's...
But just, we're fighting in the streets. There's a pretty hard gang in the area called the White Knights. They were terrorizing everybody, robbing old ladies and whatever, which was interesting because my parents moved us out of the city into Nassau County for safety's sake to try and keep us all out of trouble. But then we ended up just battling with these guys until the neighborhood just beat them down and they moved on. So we got a lot of experience fighting with them.
Why do I feel like every single individual story coming out of New York is this?
Because
at that time.
It's what it was.
I mean...
We had great police protection, but they wouldn't do anything with these gangs. It's kind of like it is now.
It's gone back to what you're saying that it used to be?
Yeah, it's very reminiscent.
Because
the whole world is. Everything in the Middle East, it's the same players.
What do you mean?
Hamas, Hezbollah.
Well, this is what I don't understand. We were kind of talking about this the other day when we were sitting down. The different sanctions over there. You have Hezbollah, you have Hamas, you have these other individuals. I don't completely understand who is who, what they're fighting for, because they're all schisms of Islam, right?
Right. But the jihadi Islamics are different than your normal peace-loving Islamists or Islamics, whatever the term's going to be for that, you know. But
all right, there it is. So they're both militant groups and political parties.
But Hamas is like
there.
the rabid dogs.
Hamas is the rabid dogs?
Yeah, they're the rabid dogs. That's why all the countries around them have borders, fences, and they don't want them. Anytime they're in trouble, just follows.
Now-
Hezbollah is more technical. So whatever you bring up here, I don't know if it's going to show what they are at the roots, but anything I know from people I spoke to, and I have friends in different intelligence stuff that tell you that Hezbollah is very technical. They're very advanced. They're very smart. And then you have like Islamic Jihad. You have Al Qaeda, the Taliban. So like you work your way down from Iran to the Taliban, Al Qaeda, Islamic Jihad. Then you start working into your Hezbollahs, your Hamas's, and there's 9 million other little.
Now, Hamas and Hezbollah don't get along?
Oh no, they get along. Hamas is they're the pit bulls for everybody.
Oh, wait. So Hamas is mainly going to be operating out of Gaza and Iran?
Well, I believe they operate anywhere that there's pay.
So they're across the entire Middle East?
Well, they're central to Palestine, right?
Okay.
But again, they're willing to do just about anything. They're the street level violent true believers.
So if we could compare them to something, if Hamas is, they're the gang, they're what, the gangs that put out the hit? Or
They're the Crips and the Bloods.
okay, and then Hezbollah is what, the government?
Well, Hezbollah's, I guess, they're the mafia in a sense. I mean, they're the same thing. They're street level terrorists in a sense. You know, they've done their fair share of truck bombings and everything like that too over the years. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, Hezbollah is just a bunch of they're just savages.
Well, like what they're saying, they share a common goal. They all oppose Israel.
Right.
Their operational and ideological differences mean they may not always act in unison. Now, did you see this? And my dad told me about this recently, and I was researching it today. The cell phones and the pagers in September of 2024.
Oh, I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, my God. I had no idea. You could look this up, Matt. It's type in cell phones, Hezbollah. This blows my mind.
I don't think I ever watched the news and broke out in such joyous laughter over the genius behind a plan.
Oh, my.
To buy companies and make shell corporations and then sell these things to your enemy, and they have no idea, and then sit on it.
And the Shell Corporation, I think, was from Japan.
Yeah.
So, which blows. This is what's insane. This is where how deep like the military goes and how they can. And this is.
So
I
this
think
is how
it was,
deep Israel's can go.
I was just about to say. So this is Israel that's really playing this, right? So Hezbollah, if I remember this correctly, Hezbollah needed to try to find off the grid pagers and cell phones, right? They wanted to make sure that they could not be tracked. Israelis go in and they say, hey, we got 5,000 pagers or 5,000 cell phones and that we can use, right? And then they go in, they sell them to them, which the individual who had to go in and try to work out these deals, that guy's insane. To have to go step into enemy grounds,
I'm
but
sure
pretend to
he
be a
was,
friend.
Mossad or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Which
those guys have balls of steel, so.
I still don't understand what Mossad truly is, because if we want to go into
There, I guess, you know, you just grind it down to the basics. It's their CIA,
I know,
but
but
they're also like a special forces mixed into it and all. I mean, they're
like the
their intelligence is phenomenal. Unfortunately, they dropped the ball on October 7th, but
they're like the Swiss Army knife though of CIA. Like they can do everything.
well,
and
they're
anything.
the Swiss Army knife of everything. They're in every country. They spy on everyone. They spy on us.
Well, if we go down, a lot of people believe that Jeffrey Epstein was part of Mossad, and so was Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I've heard that, but I don't understand the link. What was Mossad's desire to get politicians onto an island and be with underage children? I don't know if necessarily everything was about girls, so.
I don't know. Robert Maxwell, that was Ghislaine Maxwell's father, right? So
yeah.
I don't know, but I think if I want to look at it with my opinion, I think that Mossad is trying to touch every area that they can. And if they can say, okay, this is one piece, you know, we don't truly know why they were doing it. But if Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad and he was going to lure these individuals on there, because not all these people are underage if you go into it. It was just, you know, the blackmail scheme. But maybe Mossad really runs the world
Well,
then.
it doesn't get that nicknamed Pedophile Island for nothing, though.
Yeah, for sure. There was definitely.
But
yeah,
well, what's Mossad's agenda?
they run the world.
They're a tiny little country surrounded by everybody who hates them, and then they have to worry who's in the White House on whether they actually have a friend over here or not. So they just went through 4 years with Joe Biden pretending to be his friend, their friends, tying their hands at every chance he got, delaying shipments of weapons to them every chance he got, after they had a cozy best friend relationship. And, trust me, Netanyahu, Trump bumped heads plenty, but he understood the importance of keeping them as supplied as an ally.
Well, I feel like he didn't just tie the hands of Israel. Then didn't he open up trade again to Iran? So
He was used to doing that because they sent pallets of money on their way out when they were the Obama administration.
I think it was like $280 billion was made by Iran during Biden's administration, which was just opening up the oil lines again.
And they were on the balls of their ass, and the Trump broke.
Yeah, so now Trump goes back over there and he puts in these sanctions back on Iran. And and then all the money that Iran was then making, not all of it because obviously I don't know where it was all going, but then Iran is able to now fund
$16 billion, huh?
That's just handing over.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the trade that was opened up.
Just seeing
removing
that's
sanctions.
a lot of cash. That gets
funded to Hamas.
Spread out to all the little terror groups,
And then that gets funded over to Hamas. Right?
Hamas, Hezbollah, anyone that wants to strap on a bomb.
Now, to destroy Israel, right?
And hopefully us.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's Iran's goal on a nuke, which is insane in a sense because they're going to assure their destruction, but they want two, and they only need two. They take one that destroys Israel, and then they drop one here somewhere, and they know instantly they're done.
Yeah. Well, do they? And then
you're not going to sit in this country and have a nuke go off in New York City and not respond.
100%. I mean, getting that.
So what does it take for us to blow up a country that's the size of California?
Yes, but so so they'll never do it. Then is what you're saying. For them to actually.
Iran. The one thing I've seen that you can see with the Iranians is that they do what they say.
Yeah, but
they've never backed off from anything.
For them,
you can't deal with extremists. They're not worrying about their people. They think they're going to a better life.
Maybe that's a nice way to live in a way, being like, whatever we do here doesn't matter because this life is just a purgatory to where I'm going, which is
I always
heaven.
found that with anyone extreme with religion.
Sure.
It's a beautiful world. There's nothing but light and sunshine and good things waiting for you when you pass, even no matter how horrible you are on this earth. Every mobster, his church is adorned in gold because he's buying his way into heaven, or he believes he is.
For sure.
So.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and these fundamental extremists. What that?
You ever see that movie like Boondock Saints?
Yeah.
They're doing it all in the name of God, right? Like they're doing it all for the Irish God, right?
Still a great movie, though.
Oh, it's such a good movie. Have you ever seen that movie, man?
I think I watched it last week, though.
Oh my God, what a good movie. It's these two Irish guys who decide they want to start like ridding, they're kind of like vigilantes.
The sad part about that movie is it kicked around Hollywood for years. It just shows that they don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like Rocky, that's garbage. Look what it does. Boondock Saints, garbage. The only thing garbage about Boondock Saints was the sequel.
Oh, trash.
Horrible.
Second one sucked.
You can't. I don't think you can capture fire in a jar like that twice.
No way, because the first one was just so like it tells a story so well from the ground to where they go, and they have no idea what they're doing, and they're not planning anything, and they're just going in there and just kind of striking luck a lot of the times when they're killing the mobsters.
When I watch that takes me back to my childhood because that's how we were with our friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Willem Dafoe in that movie is awesome.
Nice. The guy can read a menu to me, and I think I want to give him an Oscar.
Oh, really?
I've loved everything he's ever done. Because even though he has that unique face,
yeah, very
that
expression,
serpentine body of his, the way it moves, he becomes a different character. It's him, but then you also buy into the character.
Yeah,
there's so many actors that can't remove themselves from them, like Tom Cruise. His stuff makes money, but it's Tom Cruise with a big Tom Cruise smile. It doesn't matter what he's in. Ruined my favorite character, Jack Reacher.
Yeah, I've never watched it, but I hear that he was not a good Jack Reacher
Well, how can he be?
because he's not
Even in the
6'4".
series, he's a pale Jack Reacher.
Yeah,
Because Jack Reacher's not a muscled up steroid freak. Jack Reacher was a 6'5" hard man, hard military guy. Every bit of strength he has just comes from life, not steroids in the gym. Just natural, pure, brute power.
I don't know too much. Yeah, so like we don't want to watch the Tom Hanks.
Well, listen, I love the series. The series well done.
My dad loves
I think
it.
Lee Child's son is involved, so he has a good grasp on how to keep it close.
The funniest thing is that the guy
Persuader was really, that's a really good book to turn it. If this series was good, actually, I thought it was too short.
the character who plays Alan Richson, I watched this show. He was on 12 years ago, maybe, called Blue Mountain State. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, no! His character is Thad, and do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't remember his character.
Oh,
so
he
you have to
is
help me.
this. He has pretty much he's a linebacker for a college football team, and he's obviously has CTE at like 20 years old. So he's the funniest
Is
character.
he jacked like that? Or?
Yes, he's jacked like that, but he is he's just this wild college athlete, and the show is just a
Yeah, but
complete
see, he's
comedy.
the kind of guy I have to get past, though, because if I look at those politics,
Oh, is he?
I'm going to run.
Is he on the left?
Look, I don't have a problem with anyone with their views, but he's hard.
Damn, really? You think it's just Hollywood?
Well, listen, you got to make your peace with it. If you don't see eye to eye with that hard left Hollywood thing, you're not, and then you're not going to watch or listen to anything. You're done.
But I feel like when it comes to stuff like this, like I don't know his views. I don't know him at all. But
You're better off not. I
probably.
was upset when I stumbled across some of his conversations.
Well, I'm better off not knowing most people's politics then.
Well, I think we all are. Aren't
Yeah.
we?
But it's so.
I'd rather sit across the bar from a guy and not know what way he voted. I don't need to. I don't want to wear it on my chest like a flag, especially now because someone might spit in your face.
But it's so polarizing today that it's once. So I can have a great conversation with you, and then I could say, "Hey, these are my political views," and they could immediately hate me. Where it used to not
or
be
you
like
can
this.
talk to them for 20 minutes and then say the wrong thing and trigger them, and they blow up.
It's such a. I think
On both sides. On both
both sides
I
are
have
cults,
friends
for
that are
sure.
so far right. The car has to make three rights to make a left. So there's nothing about them left, and if you say anything that disagrees with them, they'll jump down your throat too.
Oh, I agree.
We can't just put it all on the far left guys either.
I agree, but the politics flip flop so much so, like where the left was more like let's eat organic foods, and I don't want to get my kids vaccinated, and I'm against war, and now the right is kind of has these left views where it's like the right now let's like the Maha movement is let's not do as many vaccinations, let's eat organic foods,
I don't
anti-war.
think like people who are Republicans, conservative, or whatever title they want to give themselves, the voter was necessarily against eating healthy. I have plenty of friends that are pretty right that are good shape, worry about what's in their food. They always have. I think it was just the health movement was just co-opted by the left. Because you start talking healthy, what does everyone think of? Especially if it's a girl, a hippie chick.
Yeah,
So,
but now it's
most
kind of
hippies aren't going to be on the right. So the health movement looks like it's left, but
now I feel like it's right.
well,
The
of
health
course it
movement's
is.
now on
Of
the
course
right.
it is.
But that's what I'm saying. The politics of the left are now kind of the politics of the right, and the politics of the right are somewhat kind of to the left.
For the longest time, it appeared, it appeared that you Republicans were just loyal to corporations.
Yes, and now it's the opposite. It's the same thing again.
But
now it seems
but
like the
was
Democrats.
it though? The corporations always throwing tons and tons of money into the left, and the left just tossed it onto the right.
The corporations have changed a little bit. Now we're in like the tech boom, right? So now it's the corporations that were giving money 20 years ago are now completely different than the corporations giving money today.
But still, your big tech guys were even during the last election funneling tons of money to the left.
Yes, yeah.
And they were all on board with censorship during COVID.
Yeah. Which, did you see that Mark
So now you have the
Zuckerberg
right,
going on?
that's the free speech people.
Yeah, which is, again, the politics have all flip-flopped. So it's like where I stood years ago would have probably been more considered left, but I lean a little bit more right.
Well, I think we all are. When you're younger, you're a little conservative, and
Really? I
then
think
you're
the
a little
opposite.
liberal. Well, everyone has a dream of making money, so making money was supposedly the right,
Yeah.
but then everyone, has a dream of driving down Pacific Coast Highway in a Volkswagen Bug with the hood down and finding his hippie girl and smoking some weed and having a.
Yeah.
So I mean,
But I feel like when I was younger, I was more of a I'm very socially liberal. I don't really care. Be happy, be free, kind of more of a hippie vibe. And then I got a little bit older, maybe 27, 28 years old, and I started to lean a little bit away from that. But I also think it was society kind of pushed me towards that a little bit more. Being
well,
like,
what do they say? If you're like in your 20s and you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart. And
Yeah,
in
yeah.
your 40s, you're a liberal, you don't have a brain.
yeah,
I mean,
I think it's kind of true. The older that I get, it's kind of true.
well, I'm not sure how or where I morph because socially, I don't give a damn what you do. I'm not a stick my nose in anyone's bedroom. I'm not telling you who to date. Never was, never cared.
Yeah.
I mean, interestingly enough, in our neighborhood, we had a gentleman, Stuart. He went by Stewie, and he was flamboyant, deep purple clothes, gold lame. But he was up in church every day with us every Sunday. Neighborhood loved him. We protected him. Wouldn't let anyone go near him.
Yeah.
So you grow up like that. He's an influence on you. You see him when you're 6 years old, and everyone in your community embraces him. And back then, that was taboo.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to admit they knew a gay man. But our neighborhood protected him. There were kids from a few towns over came over and doused his doors to his house with Clearasil and everything, lit it on fire. And the entire neighborhood came out and beat the living hell out of these guys.
See, that's like you brought like the human aspect of it to it, allowing this individual to be himself, and then these kids brought in their beliefs, which were most likely taught to them. They didn't just
they were probably
born that
sent
way.
there by their parents.
That's wild.
Because I could see like the big tavern in our town was the Willow Tavern. It was 3 blocks from our house. Everyone's dad was up there Friday, or after work most days after 5 o'clock. But you could see in there people that didn't live, say, in our little Sageville section, question, why do you let this fucking fag live in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
And I remember clearly my dad saying, I didn't know whether he sucked their dick or not, but I'm pretty sure you did to some guy, and it turned into a pretty good little brawl in the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, I don't even know how we got to that topic.
Well, you roll, but you know.
Yeah, that's where. But okay, real quick, because I do want to finish this Hezbollah story. The story goes. I think I was telling you about this, Matt, a little bit, where they get all these pagers, and they have these pagers for, I believe it's 5 months, and everything's going well, and then all of a sudden, a certain text is sent out, and they now have triggered these detonators to go off in their pagers and their cell phones, and it kills, I think, at least 20 of the main people that they were trying to kill all in one day, all in 1 hour.
I saw the one guy in the produce section of the supermarket blow up.
There's a video of that?
Yeah.
I was
It
that
was
it?
like
All right, click
right
it.
on his hip. It looked like he was in the pro. There he is. Huh? Boom.
Oh my God. And he's part of Hezbollah?
He's got the pager in his pocket.
So
They knew who they sold those to.
So he's just roaming the street.
He's just waiting for his day to go do his business, or he's done it already and he's just not been caught.
Oh, I don't even want to watch that video again. Now that wasn't.
No, it's not that graphic.
Yeah,
but
that
it's
one's
just,
not that
It's just
bad.
interesting to see that, like I said, they were just walking around with him, not aware that.
Well, this blows my mind a little bit here now that these guys are just. So the countries must be protecting these individuals, or the towns or the villages, wherever they are, that they're just walking around a grocery store. Because in my mind, I'm thinking all these individuals that had these pagers are hiding out
Well,
in caves.
when it comes to Hamas, the Palestinians protect them. The whole Free Palestine. They've had, I believe, 7 elections to where they could have voted Hamas out of there. They chose not to. Now, the other side says it was intimidation, but
Well,
they've had enough time since Yasser Arafat and the PLO, which Hamas pretty much replaced, to move away from that, but they haven't. So why? Who are they protecting? Why? Because their brothers in it, their fathers in it.
yeah. Do you think they're protecting someone, or do you think it's fear?
There's fear and there's protection. I mean, you could go back to the IRA. There's fear. The IRA intimidated people in the villages around them not to speak with the Brits on who was in the IRA, and then your brother's in it, your dad's in it. You're not gonna see him get pulled up by the provost and sit in Mays prison for the rest of your life, are you?
No. I mean, we grew up Irish, very Irish family. I don't know much about why the Irish Republican Army even exists and why it still exists today. And
well, I'm not so sure it really exists to the level that it did anymore. I mean, Sinn Féin is pretty much a accepted political group now, I believe.
it's just not as radical.
Well, Sinn Féin was supposed to be the political end of it, and I think that the recent series on it showed that maybe it wasn't. I'm trying to remember the head of Sinn Féin's name, Jerry. I can't. But I mean, you can look at it like this: McGowan's are under my family here because of the IRA.
Whoa, wait, time out. This is day 2 of exploding walkie-talkies. So I thought this all happened in 1 hour.
I don't know. I just kept seeing it on the news. All I knew is I just saw the what was the movie? English movie where they had the cell phones go off and turn everyone into killers. And
Cell phone? Was it called Cell Phone?
No. It was Jesus.
The device is targeted report on.
What's that?
I was reading this, but this to me is such a wild, planned, coordinated attack.
This is brilliant.
Yeah, and how now I feel like this just now all these top leaders, because it targeted leaders, right, of Hezbollah in Lebanon, right? This occurred in Lebanon.
I don't know if they were targeting leaders. I think that was the goal, but I mean, these pages went out to thousands of people.
And
right
now that I think there was 5,000 purchased, and then I think 20 were targeted. I believe 451 were then injured because obviously when these things went off, others were around them when it started to go off. Some, it was some children and things like that, but at least 12 were killed in the first wave of attacks. So I thought this was one wave, 1 hour done, but there were civilian deaths. And then I think it was 40.
So what does that say? I'm stupid or arrogant that people I know are blowing up from their pagers and radios, and I keep mine anyway?
Oh, us?
No, not us.
Oh, you're saying day 2? Like the day 2 people?
All I know is if I'm a Hamas soldier, whatever, and I've got a pager on me and my buddy just blew up, I'm throwing that thing into the sea.
I don't know how.
It's going to be from the river to the sea. This pager ain't staying with me. I'm not wearing it.
Now, I think, though, that this doesn't... Yeah, obviously I'm going to throw my pager away. But at the same time, if this is the only way that they can communicate and they're going, shoot, maybe I don't keep it in my pocket. Maybe I don't leave it. Like, I'd be afraid to touch it, right? But this...
I wouldn't want it in a drawer in my kitchen if it's going to blow up. I don't know how they... See, I probably would have killed myself early because when I got my first pager, I took it apart to see what was inside it.
Oh, I never had a pager. What was inside of it? Just 2 wires?
Some rudimentary electronics, yeah.
But with this doesn't just... Now, the butterfly effect that happens with this is now they were looking for a bottom-level way to communicate because they obviously can't communicate in the ways that an everyday person in, let's say, America does. Now this knocks it down even more that their line of communication is going to be even more questioned now. How are they going to... Like, if we're in one of these radical groups and we were able to communicate through pager and cell phone because it was off grid.
Well, I
what's
think them taking pages was a pretty smart move. I mean, growing up with a pager, it was very effective.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you were married, you suddenly had a leash. Your wife could text you in a minute, and
You had to run to a cell phone. Or you had to run to a payphone and call.
you know, when they first came in, they were frustrating because I was working on like the 50th floor of a building, and I turned around and my partner's gone. And I look over the edge, he's on a cell phone on the corner. And he comes back up 30 minutes later, and where the hell did you go? Oh, I got a page. I'm like, you didn't have a pager yesterday. Your wife couldn't get a hold of you yesterday. Now you're running
I think
down 50 flights to...
I mean, this conversation alone, I think it ruins relationships. It ruins a lot of great. It's open up communication between individuals to have the cell phones that we have today, and the pagers maybe were the start of it. But a constant, I hate that today.
I think the cell phone ruined a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I can go through the progression of technology being 62, right? Nothing, pager, crappy cell phone, smartphone. Every step of the way, communication through that broke things down. Probably the only time I liked the pager was, I knew this I won't say her name, this young girl. She lived up by Yasgur's farm. She grew up by us. Always had a crush on her. She was dating a friend of mine, and they were across the bar, and she was screaming, "Can you just find a different position than missionary?" And she was a lot more colorful than that. And I just yelled out, "How about if I did you with my fat toe?" She asked Jerry, the bartender, for a bottle of tequila, and we went to the beach, and we had an on again, off again thing. She figured out how to take the numbers, put them in there. I can't say it because it'll spell her name out.
Time out, put the numbers in where?
Spell her name into the beeper. Put it in a beeper.
Oh.
And when you looked at it, it was upside down, but it would spell her name with the numbers. So I knew she was coming to town.
Okay.
And we would just spend a couple of days.
So is this a positive of the beeper?
Well, only positive out of the beeper.
Oh, okay.
I said the only time I liked it was because of that. But after that, no. Every girlfriend hunted you down. Your parents hunted you down.
Yeah, but being hunted down was kind of nice. Where like today,
no, they weren't hunting you down. Like I don't know. It just became like you being checked up on.
Yeah, but today the checking up on is insane. You have Life 360 where you can just where anybody is at any time.
You send someone a
Snapchat.
picture and they just slide it down and they can tell where and what time it was taken.
Oh, I mean that's pretty wild. If you wanted to stalk somebody, you could catch them just so easily. But I'm saying that like in a
I had a girlfriend today. You send her a picture. She said, "I thought you were here or there." And I said, "Okay." Well, the picture.
Yeah.
I said, "So now you just taught this old man to go in and change the date and time on the pictures before he sends them to you."
Yeah, I mean you could.
I didn't know. She was a lot younger. I didn't know anything. When I sent her to it, she was sliding down, checking the date and location.
Oh, everyone's an investigator now. They all know how to do it. Yeah.
Well, she was the young, pretty one in a relationship. If anyone should have been doing that, it should have been me. But
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think it's so. It takes away your autonomy.
Oh God, it took everything away. So you're driving, you're going into Manhattan on the train.
Yeah.
One day you have train friends. I'm sorry. And we even had a guy who came in with a little suitcase, had vodka or gin one time and vermouth, and he would make martinis.
On the train?
And when you would sit in the 5-seater and play cards, everyone talked. You knew people's families. You may not even have saw them off the train, but you had these really good relationships on the train. Same on the subway. I would say when I was riding in and out of Manhattan on the subway in the 80s, it didn't matter who you were, what color you were, man, woman, everybody spoke. If you were sitting there and you had the newspaper folded like this, the train fold, so you didn't spread out to someone else, and you saw an article, you could just look over the guy's paper and start talking to him about it and spend 20 minutes on your ride talking to a complete stranger. Happened every day. Cell phones came in. People stop talking. That's all you get.
The first story you just described sounds like a very peaceful interaction between individuals.
It was.
And now that we're so connected we've somehow taken away a human connection. Where, like you described, a human connection of just being able to lean over and speak to an individual, and now we've kind of removed.
Well,
that
now
bit.
if you speak to someone on a train, they're like, "What the hell do you want?"
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone is so into their little cocoon of their cell phone that if you break into that, they're offended.
yeah.
They don't care if they're being loud or they're playing a game and the noise is breaking your peace. But if you break theirs, there's hell to pay with attitude anyway.
Yeah.
So,
But then it's also taken away. Like, say you got on the train. So say you were speaking to, say you had a significant other or whatever. So you got on that train. You now had time away from them, right? If, say, you were in an argument or even like a good morning, you still had time and space away from them. We don't have that anymore.
No.
Where you get on the train, you can still now get hit up by a text message,
you
a
know
phone
what
call.
that time and space did to you when you left your house angry? It gave you time to heal.
So, absolutely.
And even if you spoke to your buddy like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, my friggin' wife," he might counsel you down. He might bring you to a better place.
Absolutely.
Now you both get on a train and you look at each other and you wash your face with your phone the whole time.
Oh, there's no cool off period.
No. And you just simmer. And
Yeah.
I'm a guy who simmers, so I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But
I'm a slow burning ember anytime I get pissed, and it just...
I think a lot of people
And the
are.
cell phone doesn't make it any better.
Well, it doesn't allow the simmer to simmer,
No,
right? And then it doesn't allow the ember to go out.
No.
And so the ember just stays hot, right? And that's the problem with today is we stay in arguments, and they want, or I'm just saying they as an individual, but we want our fights to end, and we want them to, when the best way to probably simmer an argument is time, just a little bit of space, like even 6 hours away from somebody or just not answering it.
Yeah, and the availability of discovered counsel in friends or even a stranger that's willing to listen to you.
Yeah. And now,
So, a lot of times people, those train rides could be almost like confessionals because you knew the people. You necessarily didn't see them off the train. Maybe you saw them at Little League or Pee Wee football or something, but they were train friends. Your world was in that big steel tube for 45 minutes each way.
now,
But you got deep. They were deep connections. We knew when people died, and you did go to funerals. We knew when people got married. And, you knew a lot about their lives, but it was just interesting how it stayed on the train, but you connected.
yeah, and that kids growing up these days, they'll never really know what that is. That ember is always going to be continuously burning from the first day they get a cell phone.
Well, I mean, my kids came later, so I mean,
Yeah,
my boys are just 20 and 23, and I remember we're bored. I'm like, well, go play with a friend. Oh, we didn't schedule a play date. My head could have exploded. What do you mean? Get on your goddamn bike and ride to his house and knock on the door.
Oh,
And my ex-wife's like, "Oh, they can't do that. We got to call the mother." I'm like, "What the hell do you mean? If there's nobody home, knock on the next door."
I don't know why we even have doorbells anymore. People don't use them.
Oh, they use them to spy on a neighbor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like Ring cameras and such.
Yeah, my upstairs tenant, she watches everything I do.
But well, why does she have access to? I guess it's
She has
your
a ring.
camera. Yeah. But that's the thing too. It's everyone's on surveillance all the time, and there's no break or relief to get away from it. That's why I think we all fantasize now about that living off the grid and kind of getting away from this. But obviously, not cell phones are not all bad because there's things that we're using them for right now.
Well,
right?
I relish the time when I go out to family land out in Montana. We don't have any Wi-Fi out there.
You got a place out in Montana?
Well, cousin and I, cousins, yeah.
That's one place I want to go is Montana.
Well, we'll talk about it.
All right, let's go to Montana, dude.
Try to get everybody to go there. No one seems to go.
Oh,
but
I'll
out
go to
there,
Montana
it's out
second.
there. There's nothing. We use my cousin is just allows satellite phone.
I'll leave my cell phone here and go to Montana.
Well, you can bring it, but you're not going to get any service.
You know what was
The place is like 3,200 feet altitude, so I don't know the closest cell tower. Maybe the closest town is Laurel, Montana. Maybe there.
All right, I'm gonna tell
That's like I can say best to me to Laurel is like New Hope, Pennsylvania, with cowboy boots.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's gonna will feel like that.
Okay.
It's not been ruined like Bozeman by the Californians building McMansions everywhere.
Okay.
It's still Out there, the average rancher is 74, and there's a lot of young girls out there looking for somebody, and there's only just a bunch of old men around. So you'd probably do well.
All right, man, we're going to Montana.
Head
But
to Montana.
but there's two things that when it comes to like that off the grid style living, the only
it's
kind of experience I've had with this one, I trained for a marathon with somebody, and we refused to listen to music during our it was 12 weeks of training, meaning we ran I don't know how many
why
hundreds of
the
miles.
refusal for music.
We wanted one. The first one was we had to try to run at 145 to 152 beats a minute, a heart rate, we had to run at conversation speed. So the very first time we started training, I think our mile time was like 10 minutes, 10:30, which is very slow for us. But we had to make sure our beats per minute was 145 to 140.
Well, you're going to time my mile
152.
with a leap year calendar.
Yeah.
I'm going to need the extra day to get there.
Yeah.
So.
We can start now. But then, and then of course, as we start progressing in this training, we're now at 8-minute miles, but we're still at 147 beats a minute. So it's like, all right, this is it. But we'd have to run at conversation speed. That became therapy, though. We were running probably 40 miles a week, and everything was a conversation between us two. We were just constantly talking for probably 10 hours a week of conversation. No technology involved, no music.
I don't know if that would help me.
Oh, I loved it.
I mean, prior to the last few years getting ill and the mess that I am now from medication and all,
Yeah.
I trained my whole life. I mean, I was fit.
Yeah.
I was rail thin like you at one point, and then I just became a brick shit house. But I don't know if I like the solitude during a run. I
couldn't do it alone.
I think I chose to run through the villages and down the boardwalk. I was into myself, but I also liked being surrounded by the people. So, and then I like when a Walkman came along and I can incorporate music into it, because now I have music for everything I do. Now I'm back in the gym. I have my music, and right now it's probably a little odd for the gym, but it's like Chris Christopherson and Tom
that's
Waits.
nice.
And yeah, but it's not like workout music, but I don't know, it opens my head. Like, I don't know, it's working. But when I'm making my artwork that I make,
Yeah.
it's all blasting heavy metal, walls want to fall down,
Yeah.
because I find when I'm working on the metal and heating it up and pounding it, you just start taking that rhythm to the music, and the fatigue and the strain that comes from that work, it washes away, and I can do hours. When you go out there, I have to change the schedule now because I hit in the gym now at 6, but I used to go out at 6 and look up and it'd be 11.
See, okay, well, I can't do the no music alone. I still, when I'm alone exercising, I do the music. But when you're talking about doing different kinds of music during exercise, if you look at my playlist, it goes wild from like the heavy metal all the way down to like a Waylon Jennings country, right? So, but it's whatever the rhythm is that I'm in that day is what I'm listening to.
Well, I was on the stair machine today, listening to Bobby Darin, Can't Give You Anything But Love, Baby.
Yeah. See,
So,
damn,
that's today.
You're doing the stair machine?
Yeah. What's stretching the knees out now that they're getting a little looser, yeah.
Is that
it's painful as hell, but
it's an awesome workout though.
yeah, I need it.
So when you're doing that,
I couldn't bend them, so that I was limited, and everyone gives you the whole speech. I'm a 1 meal a day guy most times, but so it's not.
How's that working out?
Well, worked out fine until medications.
Oh, they make you gain weight?
Yeah, it's fluid and
That sucks.
steroids. They're the quickest way to get in chubby, putting you on steroids. But
well, those kind of steroids, I guess.
yeah, well,
yeah,
should have just switched.
yeah.
No, so I lost my thought there. But
What about like taking TRT or any of that stuff that individuals take now? Like, do you know testosterone replacement therapy?
yeah, well, right now,
Can you?
I think I'm just to the point where I can do that.
Would you?
Yeah, well, you have to understand, I had prostate and bladder cancer 12
okay,
years
so
ago,
that might not help.
which is good. I'm here 12 years.
Yeah, that's
So,
good.
to treat prostate cancer, you have to knock the testosterone down to 0.
Mm-hmm.
Testosterone to prostate cancer is gas on a fire. So, with that treatment, I was fit, was jacked in the gym. As testosterone went down, I got bigger. Just
Really? And then now the prostate cancer goes away, and what you're allowed to.
well, there's I guess a period that you can't do it, but now that when you get cancer and you are in remission or a survivor, whatever title you want to wear, they tell you to live your life in 5-year blocks.
Like having to constantly get retested?
Well, yeah, you get retested every year. I have full body scans and tremendous workups every year. These things called tumor markers that they look for to make sure nothing else is popping up somewhere. But no, you get like 5-year blocks to where the remission is pretty much, if you get through the first 5 years, now you got to hope of getting through the next. So,
Because
it's not a long, cancer treatment is not a long-term cure. You can't look like, oh, I got it. I've got 40 years in front of me. So I tell anyone that has it and they're through it, you better live like you haven't, because you don't know. You beat it, it's great. You got your second shot. So if there's anything you want to redo, you better.
And do you really do one meal a day?
I do, yeah.
Because have you looked into the research on how one meal a day will get rid of cancer cells, zombie cells,
Yeah.
things like that?
And I take different supplements and things to help do that too, yeah.
I watched this video recently about
I'm not quite sure what I'm taking. I have to actually ask my last girlfriend to go through the breakdown, because she used to put everything in little bags for me.
Like you don't know the names of the stuff you're taking?
There's 1,000 jars in my cabinet. She bagged up so much for me. I'm down to like the last couple of weeks' supply, and if I can get her to return my text, just tell me what goes in what bag.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she made it easy. She got a little pill bags, put them in, big cookie jar. You stuck your hand in, you took 2 pouches, and you went about your day.
Do you notice a
Ate
difference?
one in the morning, ate one in the afternoon.
Did you notice a difference from any of these?
I noticed a lot of things different, yeah. I slept better, energy was better.
Wait, what were these pills then?
Just different supplements.
Oh.
Nothing, not narcotics. Just
Yeah. So, all right. So if your prostate cancer is in remission, I guess you've had a fear of taking TRT or anything like that to them.
I don't think I have the fear of it now. I think 12 years of research since my first treatment. So I could take it now, and I guess I just have to go for steady PSA tests. Because testosterone will raise your PSA level.
What's PSA? Is that
That's the level that lets you know that your prostate's in trouble. I forget what it really stands for, but most people are 0. When I actually went to doc to go get this knee repaired. So I just had the physical prior to surgery, and they called me up and you were going to postpone your surgery. Like, why? Oh, your PSA level's high. We have to see what it is. So at the time it was a 3, which by today's standards is nothing, but the aggressiveness of it was that. Waited 30 days, it came back, it was 4. Waited 30 days, it came back, it was a 5. At that point, I was like, there you go. And there are things that messed that up too, because like after the first test, they'll ask, did you have sex the night before? Did you masturbate? Because supposedly that can raise your levels. Man, so there are the numbers. So I was 48. Going on 49, and I was a 3.
So they don't really start testing until 40 years old? Is that kind of what this is showing?
I think they should test sooner because of all the garbage in the food.
Yeah.
And the amounts of estrogen that's in our water and stuff.
Well, see. All right. Do you believe in like the conspiratorial type of anything conspiratorial?
I believe in a lot of conspiratorial.
Oh, I love the
I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy to go down that road with. If you're not,
Oh, I am
only because I
into it.
take the time to follow it up and try and link the stuff, so it's just not some guy bloviating about bullshit.
Oh, the hours of research I have on this is wild.
On the estrogen,
Not so much the estrogen. Other conspiracies.
I can tell you why this stuff is in our water. Because
Yeah,
our water treatment plants can't get it out.
because of
The water treatment plant can't get it out
well, why is it in there in the first place?
because you pee.
Oh, like so, just it comes out of a male and out of a female.
Whatever medication you take, and when you go to the bathroom, there are always traces of it.
And
And it goes into the water supply. And the water treatment plants are so Stone Age. We build them as steam fitters, so pretty familiar with them. There's a reason I won't eat duck. Not wild caught duck anyway. I'll tell you that in a minute. But,
yeah.
So girls are taking birth control pills. They're full of estrogen, I believe, right?
Okay.
So every young girl's on birth control. They're all going to the bathroom several times a day. There are parts of that going into the water system. The water treatment plants can't pull this out.
Now I do know that. So, but you're saying so now the estrogen's in the water. We're drinking this. It's creating more estrogen in our body, right? Now we're peeing that more estrogen back out, and it's just. It sounds like the water's just going to be one estrogen water bottle after another.
It's everything in there, though. Any medication somebody's on, there are traces of it in the water.
And I know that the birth control is a big problem with this.
And then I think the plastics. I read something a while back on it, some cloudy memory of it. I think the plastics have a lot to do with the estrogen as well. So.
Really? I watched that one Joe Rogan where they were talking about how like it's affecting. I mean, making us sterile.
Well, when your testosterone levels going down 25% a generation now.
25% a generation?
Yeah, I believe so.
It sounds like we're just going to be.
I was told by my doc when I was getting the treatments because they were knocking my down. He said, "Well, you're going to be way low, but you come in low anyway. So what does that mean?" He said, "You have half the testosterone in you that your father had." He said, "It's doing a slow march down in this country." Aside from the fact that people are convinced to not have babies or not want to have babies anymore, we don't know if guys can do it.
I don't know if we're convinced not to have babies.
There's a huge market out there to tell these people that babies are part of the environmental problem.
Oh, yeah. Well, there is the argument saying we're overpopulated, and now there's the argument saying we're underpopulating.
Oh, well,
but I think it's no. I don't.
We're not making enough people in this country to make sure someone can work to supply your Social Security, or like if you have a pension, people have to pay. Like young steam fitters that are working for me now, they're putting into the pension. That finances my retirement, in a sense. So
yeah,
everything it's got. We don't do a 2.3 babies to a family anymore.
No. Well, I think that women are discouraged from having babies today. I don't think the men are discouraged from them. I think the women are because they've entered the workforce in a crazy number in the last 50 years.
Well, that's one end of it, but your girls are more susceptible to the influence of
women are more susceptible to
political
it.
coercion, and a lot of the stuff out there about the families being an environmental nightmare, and it's also got the girls somewhat selfish.
Well, I think it's.
I mean, that whole thing the other day in Congress about
Which part?
where all the ladies stepped out. I really didn't get into it. It's like
wait, at which part of Congress? I don't know.
well, they just stepped out to do like women's rights to vote on things remotely, and because
well, they did it. They did it remotely or separately?
no, they supposedly they walked out.
I think it's the big part is women have entered the workforce now, so now they don't want to have children until later in their life, right? So they don't want to start having children until they've built some kind of career.
No, it was
Walk out of a
protest like
House
that. I don't
chamber
know,
for women's protest.
I heard it on the way out the door, so I was going to come back and wash back over it.
Well, I also think that we are kind of being told to not be men anymore as well.
For 40 years.
And there is an awesome book called Man Uncivilized. If you have not read this book, it is so good.
Well, I will read it.
And it's about...
I'll probably see myself in it, though. So
Okay, you will. Okay, so it is... The main premise of this book is men need to be uncivilized. We have become too civilized, and now women don't want us. We become simps, right? Now we're trying to chase women down instead of, that's it. That's Trevor Boehm.
There's so much that changed that.
It is one of my favorite books ever.
The invention of the term, or the penning of the term, toxic masculinity.
He goes over it in the book.
That's nonsense.
Well, he's not saying...
A smart woman wants a man to provide and protect her. That doesn't take away from who she is and what she can do. It's just nature.
This book, you will love this book then, because it doesn't go into it saying that men need to be uncivilized in this barbaric, Viking, run into a village and take over it. This is a way to say that men need men, right? We need a brotherhood, and we also need to be the man in a relationship where we've also, let me have the masculinity side of the relationship and let the woman have the femininity side of it.
Well, you have the protector and the nurturer, right?
Yeah.
And that's our job, protector, provider. Yeah. It's in our DNA. And women are the nurturers. And it doesn't take away from any woman's desire to be a corporate CEO or an MMA fighter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're still nurturers.
Yes.
And that's why they're so
us.
easily moved by Marxism on a college campus, because they apply to the nurturing motherly side of a woman.
Yeah.
They take anything that's good and they capitalize on it, and girls are susceptible to it because they apply to the nurturing side of them and say, oh, you don't want to be this, and they go. And then they buy into this, that if a guy's slightly aggressive with his buddies, he's a savage.
He's toxic masculinity. It's a terrible term.
You need to go bang skulls with your buddy and blow the steam off. That keeps you level. It keeps you grounded.
Well, he talks about this. He says you need to join. He says, one, stay away from pornography. Don't watch it.
Oh, it's
two.
horrible.
Find a martial art and find a brotherhood that way.
If you're gonna sink yourself in pornography, then you're gonna be really disappointed when you actually have real sex.
Oh, 100%.
Because you start trying to do that to a woman, you're never coming back there.
It also, I think pornography is horrible, but the things he goes over in this as well is, I maybe I should just let you read the book, but.
Well, you can go into it. I have no problem watching reruns. Good.
Well, I think also, so talking about how the woman are the nurturer, the man is more the protector. I feel like women are being told today, though, that they need to kind of play both roles, the masculine and the feminine. Instead, where they're taking the CEO role, which is fine. I'm not, but there's this extreme feminism.
When a woman's in a CEO
I'm not
role trying to be all phony macho, it doesn't read well. In the corporate world, the men underneath her don't respect it.
Well, there's some respected, right? And there many, maybe many.
Not behind her back. No. Those women pretending to be. Just go in and be a strong woman with a brain and the job. That's fine. You don't have to pretend to be all macho, male aggressive.
Well, it's hard for me when it comes to relationships and especially, let's just say, American women. I don't know, because I've had this theory on. I've dated out of the white culture kind of often, and where if I date like a Latina or anyone like that, they have this strong. They want to be the feminine in the relationship, and they allow the man to be the masculine. I'm not saying this for everyone, but where I feel like today the role is kind of different, where they feel like they have to be, they're not allowed to just be the feminine. And it kind of stops us from allowing us to just be a man and to be the masculine. Because we operate that way kind of out of fear now a little bit too.
Well, unfortunately, for a dinosaur like me, that's why I don't do well with any women in Lower Makefield.
Yeah, they might hate you.
Oh, they mostly do.
Yeah.
Everyone I know is like, why don't you find yourself a woman close to your age? I'm like, I find one, I'll go on a second date, or if a third, that'd be a miracle. I can't turn down who I am. I've come up a certain way. I've adapted a few things to be a little softer around the edges, but I grew up in a time we were forward. We were men. We treated our women with respect. We were tender and caring when we needed to be, and we were total beasts when we had to protect them. And that's who you are at the core. I can't change it.
Oh, as a 36-year-old male, I have to fear a little bit being too forward because I can just be called as, oh, he's being this way. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm not being this way. It's, it almost, it stops me from flirting sometimes because
the
out of fear.
art of flirting is dead.
Yeah, I think so. Well, because it's so
contrary
instant
to anyone
now.
else's view of me, you catch me outside. Like, my friends are amazed how I'll talk to any woman from 6 to 60. They come up like, you have a line for everything. I said, no, I don't have a line for everything. I read the room.
Yeah.
The conversation with the girl will steer you to what you can get away with saying properly, we'll say. And it'll just naturally bring some humor up out of both of you. And you can be flirtatious, and it's not aggressive. It's not, I'm going to turn into a stalker. It's just some innocent flirting in a bar. You're not necessarily even trying to pick her up. But it's gone. You're finding your girl on an app.
I hate it. I don't do apps. I don't do dating apps. I
would say 8 years back. I'm still working. I'm doing building on 23rd on the edge of Chelsea Ironbound, and around the corner was a bar, Live Bait. But yeah, you can throw a little in there and get it warm again. But
Can you grab me a water while you're up?
Yeah, water. You want a water fountain?
no, I'm fine. I'm making my own in my shoes.
Thank you.
So you're on the Chelsea, or
So there's a restaurant around the corner called Live Bait. It's like a Louisiana crab shack, but it's owned by three models. They're not famous, just New York run of the mill print models, but they're friends with Gisele Bundchen and Tom Brady, so they're there a lot.
Okay.
I think they may have had an apartment in the area. I will say, as much as I wanted to hate Brady, he was such a gentleman when he was in there. He didn't sit in any VIP section. He just mingled with everyone like a normal guy.
Well, did he feel safe to do that? Like no one was gonna.
I don't know whether he needed to feel safe because it's just what he wanted to be. He just walked the streets of Manhattan like he owned them, so,
Okay.
I think a guy like him, he knows how to push an aggressive guy off.
Well, he's kind of a calm demeanor.
Well, it is. I mean, he's like, the words when he talks to you almost flow out of his mouth like liquid silk. He's just smooth.
An aggressive guy's gonna, more aggressive people. It's gonna create more aggressive outcomes. Where a calmer guy's gonna create a calmer response.
But he's in a bar, 200 people around him, and he's just mingling like just a regular guy. So I mean, they were there regular. My point is Friday nights I would take my guys out and buy them drinks and hang out, and they're all sitting at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, there's 200 beautiful women in here.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to look at them? Oh, I'm on Tinder. I'm like, I said, why don't you learn to look a woman in the eye and get some game?
This has been a problem.
Let me finish. We made a bet. I said, I will walk to this bar, a man in his 50s. You give me 40 minutes, I'll get 3 numbers. And they're like, bullshit. So one of you could come around with me so I'm not whispering in their ear, hey, I got a bet. I got more than 3 numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can look them in the eye and talk. I can tell a good story. Whether it was for anything other than go on a dinner and have a nice time, they couldn't do it. And then I got one kid, when we come back, and he sees what an older guy can do in there, says, oh, I got to go. And where are you going? Oh, I got a girl on the Upper East Side I'm going to meet on Tinder. I said, so you're going to jump on trains to go meet some chick off Tinder when you're in a room with 200 beautiful ones? Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken away the organic individual, like meeting someone organically.
Well, the brief time I spent on apps, all I ever saw in there, and I'd always go look in the younger ones, see what's being said, what they have in their profiles. Don't be dry, sorry, and learn to have a conversation or be able to have a conversation. Don't be dry, be able to have a conversation. Repeat it over and over and over again on the girl's side.
Do you, yeah, okay. So, do you know how difficult it is, though, to be on an app and not be dry?
Oh, no,
It's so difficult.
I got that because that would ring through my head when I'm trying to talk to someone a little closer to my age on there.
Yeah.
But they're being dry, or if I even try to put some humor into it, they don't know how to read it, or they come off offended. Because humor is lost in text.
Yeah.
The subtle inflection of it all is just washed away.
They're also speaking to several other individuals while they're talking to you as well.
Well, you see, that's where I was different. I would tell everyone, if I connected with you, I didn't talk to anyone else.
They probably heard that before, though.
Well, I don't. But I never accidentally sent the wrong text.
Yeah.
Which is pretty big from what I understand. I don't care whether they believe it or not. That, to me, I'd rather not be talking to 15 people on there because it's hard enough to get a read for the personality to begin with.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to 8 people and I've got her vibe and her vibe and her vibe, I'm all mixing it up into this person. I'm making that person something they're not. And then I meet them and I'm disappointed. Am I disappointed because I put stuff from the other conversations onto her? So I'd rather talk to one.
Yeah.
Put out what I am, bare my soul. This is me. Take me or leave me.
Now, when you're in a crowd...
God knows there's many more waiting it. So what's the rush to talk to 20 at one time?
Well, those dating apps allow you to be able to talk to as many as you want, kind of, or as many as you match with, I guess. But the part that when you meet someone in public, before I've approached them, now I see what they're wearing. I've kind of watched their mannerisms a little bit. I've watched how they're talking to other individuals, and now I've kind of, in my mind, whether or not, just organically, I've planned my approach and what I'm going to say, and it's going to happen this way, and it's not going to come off as dry. Where on an app, it's just, hey, how are you? And now I have to come up with like a crazy one-liner that's hopefully going to get their attention enough that they respond. And I want to be off that app immediately. I want to hang out with them immediately because if I chat with them for just one day, it's dry by day 2. So, but I don't do the apps. I've done it before. I've never met like something substantial off of it. And but talking about the men, your guys sitting in a club all on their cell phones, this is every day. This is very common. People go to a bar to sit on their cell phone to try to meet a girl on a dating app, and then they leave and say they're going to hang out with someone when they're sitting right next to someone who could be a potential match.
Well, when my son goes out with his friends, they turn their phones off.
You think so?
Well, they do. I've seen them in the tavern, and then the phone never comes out. Like where we met Sunday, I would sit across the bar from them. That's a big square bar, and see him with all his friends, and there's not a phone in sight.
That's good.
They're enjoying each other. They're enjoying the women we're with. I think they're trying to get away from the dependency on it because everything used to be a Snapchat. Used to drive me nuts driving around. Puts his foot out, takes a picture of his sneaker. I'm like, what the hell is that? Oh, I'm chat with someone on Snapchat. Says, "Oh, why are you sending a picture of your sneaker all the time?"
That's how they express themselves. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know, but they seem to have gotten away from it, or they're trying to. His group. I don't know if it's anywhere else. Maybe they're a little anomaly out there right now. Maybe it'll grow.
Well,
Hopefully
Snapchat's also not as popular as it used to be.
No, well, that I get, but I'm just saying, he was 17, 16.
Well, I think
It was big when he was in high school.
From my understanding, and speaking to others, I think the dating app game has kind of depleted a little. It's depleted a little bit. It's not as strong as it was 5 years ago, where people are starting to notice the cesspool that just operates on these apps.
Oh, yeah.
Some are really good at it, right? Some are very good at those dating apps, and now it's made women question those men even more. And others who are really good men are just not good at a dating app, so they can't get a date.
Well, you only have so many characters to try and put your personality through on a little screen.
Oh man, then you have to
How do you
feel
do
like you're
that?
fake lying
I need
too.
a 100-inch screen to take the big bold personality that I have when I'm turned on and I want to impress someone and I'm in a good mood about it.
Well, that's different
I'm gonna
too.
light up 100 houses. How the hell do I put that through on a screen?
Well, that's a good point too, because the person that I am right now, while texting this person, may not be the person that I am when I actually meet up with them to who it is. Where if I do meet them and
Because you think too much about what you're putting on that screen.
yeah,
Like we're talking here, we're all over the place, right?
Yeah,
I
for
know
sure.
we had stuff in mind, and we'll probably get to a lot of it, but conversation goes where it goes.
Yeah.
And that's good when you're trying to find someone you want to be with.
yeah,
You get little glimpses into different parts of their soul and their heart, and it's great.
yeah,
On a screen, she can send you that text, and you got 3 minutes to think of what you're going to say before she says, "Are you still there?" Right?
yeah,
So you're thinking that hard about what you're going to reply. It's not natural. It's not you. You're not going to
Yeah.
come out that way. The guys that are good at it are probably used car salesmen because they're on there just typing away and it's old bullshit, so it doesn't matter.
yeah.
It's a script. They put the same thing out to every girl. They look unique. They look funny. They look interesting, but it's old bullshit. It's a script.
Taking 3 minutes to respond to a text may appear that you're witty, but it's when you finally meet up with the individual, you're like, oh, they're not that witty because they couldn't think
well,
of that
that's
response in
why
5 minutes or 5 seconds.
The brief time I spent on the apps, I read, "Don't be dry," and know how to have a conversation. Don't be boring.
Then you need,
Those were the 3 big words. Don't be boring. Don't be dry. Know how to have a conversation.
yeah. If I'd
How do you handle that? If you've grown up
Well,
your
they
whole
already have
life
an
looking into a
expectation now.
screen,
yeah,
and the only way you know how to communicate is that way, and half the time you're doing it with your buddies, so a lot of it is dick jokes, not
yeah,
talking, trying to get someone interested in you. And now there's this hammer hanging over your head, waiting to hit you. Don't be dry. Don't be boring. Know how to speak. That's 3 nails in a guy's eyes who doesn't know how to speak. So now he's all locked into himself. What the hell am I going to say to this chick?
Well, now he's locked in by an
Because
expectation.
he's scared. Because
Yeah.
he knows he's boring to begin with. Now he's being told by a girl, don't be.
Well, don't be before you are.
Yeah.
Right. So like, an expectation has been laid out already that I can't even meet it. I can't
Right.
meet it. So I'm
And
not even gonna hit on you
what's
anymore.
her level of boring?
Well, you don't know.
I mean, you could bring up a topic that she doesn't like, and you're boring.
Yeah.
So it's a.
And now you feel less of yourself.
It's got to be a whirlwind in your head. You're sitting there trying to connect with this person, and these words are hanging out there. You're looking up, you see them, like, oh my god,
Yeah.
and you don't know what you're gonna say. And I suffered it. I'm like you said, we're chatty, and I've got a great sense of humor, but God, it does not come across on the screen well at all.
Yeah. But this book if I think every man should read this one. It's
Well, I will. Pick
it's
it up.
so good because you think by being titled "Man Uncivilized," it's going to be toxic masculinity, but it's the opposite. They want you to go back to. He has this theory of, and I may missay this, but we were raised by the 1950s Marlboro men, where it's just like over masculinity, and now our culture has become. We're afraid of becoming that, so now we are more of. We're afraid to approach women. We're afraid to to show that manliness or that masculine side of us. And now we need to go back to the uncivilized part, and we need to be men again. We need to, be
I
a little
don't
more
know
chivalrous.
I don't know if the Marlboro Man was that kind of thinking was too aggressive. I'm from it,
Yeah,
and I have a pretty good tender side. There isn't a woman that I'm with that have been with in my years that doesn't have at least 5 or 6 poems that I wrote from, and they're all pretty damn good. Well, I'm writing some books, so my main character writes a couple. They're original in the book. So
well, how do you get?
who expects a guy like me to write romantic poems?
Well, where do you get into writing in the first place? Did you write this your entire life, or
I
did
wrote
you
my
retire?
whole life. I wrote my whole life.
Poetry or just
Poetry, short stories.
and just constantly throughout your life you're gonna be writing poetry and short stories?
Well, I didn't start out say I'm going to write a poem, but
You like pen to paper?
yeah, sometimes I used to just sit down and see where it would go. I wrote a whole bunch of poems in high school because I was in a creative writing class. And funny thing enough, my mother took him to a psychologist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, a lot of my childhood with my dad for several years was very dark, so a lot of it came out.
Okay.
But to me, I thought that was good.
I think it is.
Pen to paper, it cleaned my soul. I was good.
I think it's a
And
wonderful way
if I
to
would
do
hurt
it.
by it again, I could just look at it and refresh the energy that put into me to wash all that away.
Oh, I had 2 big composition books throughout high school filled with poetry. I wrote poetry all throughout high school, and it wasn't it's mostly, and I thought poetry was supposed to be based around like a love or anything like that, but it wasn't. It was like just pen to paper getting things out. And I think people who journal today have a lot more peace. I think people who write today have a lot more peace. So I think what you're saying is it's a
Well,
great thing.
say I read a book,
Yeah.
then I sit down and, for lack of a better term, I do a book report on it.
Okay.
I write it. I write what I believe the author's views are, and I write what I took from it, and then I write a conclusion.
See, like even this right now is somewhat therapeutic in a way, just to have a conversation with an individual and talk about these things that's off topic and free form is kind of therapeutic in a way where people don't do this as much anymore.
No.
Like, especially, I mean, you can have the barroom scene and you can have that, but we're not really given an outlet, or we don't allow ourselves to have the outlets like we used to.
No.
Like a train ride in, with a stranger, or your train ride people. You had your train ride people. You had if you played a sport or something, your tennis individuals, all these different groups, where we don't really have that as much anymore.
I mean, I didn't. It's poetry. Like when my brothers, my 2 oldest, they had children early. I think I was in my mid-20s, and I invented a character, Desmond, the UB Better Bear. I would tell them these stories all the time. I wrote it down. Back then, I dated a girl. She was supposed to illustrate it, but I screwed that relationship up. Oh, man.
Was she an illustrator?
She was incredibly talented artist. She was gorgeous. She had a brain like a computer and a heart as big as Texas. And I was lost every time I was with her, in confusion about who the hell I was, because she just owned me. But I self-sabotaged that. Like, I don't know why. To this day, I'm still friends with her. She won't talk about it. We have a mutual friend. She was a girlfriend prior to this one, and they're still close. And we were just talking about the other night. She said, we'll just call her Karen. For
Okay.
lack of it. She said, what do you think you did with Karen? I'm like, I don't know. And she was straight. She said, you loved her far more than you ever loved me. I said, we were a high school fling. You know it. I said, you were hard to keep around. You wanted to run. You wanted to have 9 million different friends. And when we got together, it was explosive. It was great, but it wasn't a relationship. Karen, on the other hand, wanted something real.
Well,
And then I think I was afraid of it.
I don't know. Someone said something recently that not every relationship is meant to last a lifetime.
No.
Where I think we have a belief, though, that we think we find this one person and it goes up in flames.
No,
and
I made it easy on myself when it came to relationships. Until you find the right one, and you'll know it, and it may not last, because life is life. Outside influences change things. But to me, you get a box of tissues, and that's your relationship. You use it for why you need it, and you move on to the next one. It's how you become who you are, and it's how you become the person that you'll be in the relationship that lasts.
yeah, and the next one.
Everything
maybe.
that you do right in that relationship, you hold on to. Everything you do wrong, you use it as a safety valve so you don't keep doing it.
You know what's cool? Someone, you might be able to relate to this. And someone said if you lined up all of your past relationships, you can find where your mental state was. right? So line them up, right? And you go, I was doing really well. I was doing well. Not doing well. Not doing well.
In terms of life altogether, or relationship wise?
In terms of life altogether.
Okay.
So
Well, I can see that.
yeah.
Because when I was at my worst, I was with the most horrible women ever.
100%. And when I was at my best, I can line up my past relationships and say where I was where I was.
See, to me, I'd love to know what happened to my marriage because I don't recall anything going wrong.
Oh, that's
The
really?
divorce was a complete surprise to me. And I know when I
shit.
met my wife, I was working at held about 1,100 people. The bouncer there at the Dublin pub at the time, too. I was in my, I don't know, it was about 28, 29. I mean, I never stopped bouncing or doing door work until Liam was born, actually. Because it was just such great money, and it was such a good social outlet.
Door work, like being a doorman?
Like bouncer,
Like
work a
bouncer?
door at a club or bodyguard work and things like that. I never stopped that until Liam was born. Because then I wanted to be home. Because when my son was born, I didn't think my heart had enough room for the love that I had for him. And then I got Owen. And I don't even know how I fit the love in there that I felt for him. I was like, this is impossible that I could love these two creatures that much. So when they came, I was willing to change everything. I mean, I traveled as a fitter for years and years. So, you know.
Did you stop traveling once they were born?
Well, yeah, because it's really hard to travel with babies.
Yeah.
So, but
Oh, when you would travel, it wouldn't be for like a week or two at a time. It was like you'd live there for months or years at a time?
yeah, like when I worked down on the Tennessee River in the nuclear plants down there, I'd be down there for months.
Okay.
Maybe I would come back home every 3 or 4 weeks to see people.
When you would
Because
work,
even if I had a dog, then the dog came with me.
so is it kind of like an oil rig job? Like once you pick up that job, you're on that rig for a few months, or you're on that nuclear power plant
You're there.
for a few
You're
months?
there as long as you want, as long as you don't get laid off. Yeah,
How many hours a day is that?
I would work at least 16. If I was on the road, it's because there was no work in New York. So, if you're on the road, you're there to make money, and you can do just standard 12, 5 days a week, and do 10 hours Saturdays, Sundays, and have a bag of money. So your day starts at 5:30. You're getting out at 5:30. Plenty of time to screw up.
Yeah.
And around the nukes, nothing but bars and lonely women, especially in Tennessee. Because crystal meth has destroyed everything along that Tennessee River Valley. So
Really?
you come in there with a clear head, a good job, and union benefits, you're a pork chop on a plate to a hungry man. They just all over you. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I talking about crystal meth destroying things, I feel like that's more prevalent than ever anywhere, right? Like any time. Crystal meth is across the United States, like rampant now.
Yeah, now they're throwing, what's it in it? The
Fentanyl?
fentanyl, yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's even worse.
Well, I just think it's become so.
Well, it's cheap.
Oh, it's super. Yeah, comparatively to other drugs.
What
Yeah.
is it up?
Is crystal meth usage up? Well, I believe so. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it can.
Well, I think drug
I don't know if
use
it
is
can
up.
ever be up in the South because it was always. I don't ever remember being down there, and it not being there. So I don't know when it was invented. I understand there's like one biker who's considered the mad chemist or the godfather of crystal meth. I think there's actually a documentary I saw on Netflix or something that I keep meaning to get back to see because I was surrounded by so much crystal meth in my construction life. So
Well, I think that the bikers pushing methamphetamine like they used to is not what it. Now it's Mexico and China, right? Pushing
yeah,
these
but it still goes through.
gangs and.
I
yeah,
mean, you have to get away from just thinking everything about biker gangs as pagans and Hell's Angels and the breed.
yeah.
They're your big ones, or the what was it, the Warlocks that were the other California bikers against the Hell's Angels at the time, I think.
Did you ever watch Sons of Anarchy?
I did. I thought it was great.
I thought the first 4 seasons were fantastic.
Yeah, well-
and then it kind of gets a little ridiculous.
Well, you
But-
know, what was the writer of that? He.
Whoa, 7% of Americans have used meth in the last year.
That's a lot.
That is a lot of. Okay, that's how many million people? That's like
Well, considering only 1% of the
that's like
population
25 million people.
it was always the high of who served in the military. That's a big friggin' number.
That's I don't know if I'm putting 340 million people in the U.S. That's 7% of that. That's going to be like 27 million people have used meth in the last year. 27 million people in the United States. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, and this is 2019.
Well,
Oh my God!
those numbers are always going to be a couple of years behind. They gotta
Do you know
get
how
this down.
easy it is to get drugs today, too? By the way,
Dude, down in the backwoods, in Kentucky, Tennessee, they're selling it to you in a damn convenience store.
yeah, but Kensington is the largest open air drug market in the United States at the moment, and it has been for the last several years. You
Well,
walk
shame on Philly.
Well, yeah, shame on Philly for sure. Why haven't they done anything about it yet? Do you know a theory on this? That they want it to continue to be this way
course
for
they
at
do.
least another year or two, and then they're going to come in and buy up all this real estate for a very cheap price.
Yeah. There's a lot of theories spinning out there that like BlackRock's attached to that too.
Well,
They're
yeah,
buying
for
up
sure.
every damn house and apartment building there is.
Well, that's like in Davos, right? Where Davos spoke about it. What is it? Klaus Schwab talking about how
he's Satan.
Yeah, well, do you see what he wears? He wears a Darth Vader outfit when he goes in there, and then he talks about how you will. What is it? You will own nothing and love it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, BlackRock being tied to it, saying they're going to come in there and buy up. Well, didn't BlackRock just buy something new recently? That's huge when it comes
I
to
know
the
they
U.S.
bought
government.
an attempted assassin on Donald Trump. That's for sure.
They are the largest. They are the largest stockholders in the United States, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they own I think it's over 50% now, which I feel like that means they own the United States now. But, yeah, well, there is. I just don't understand how, if you truly wanted to clean up Kensington, I believe you could. The amount of money that we're sending overseas or anything like that could be used to clean up Kensington, I think you could. And I'm not saying.
Well,
Right.
listen, the money's always there. We proved that. We
Yeah.
proved that through
We proved that recently.
everyone who's coming over the border.
Yeah.
We have a homeless problem in this country for the last 50 years, right? And the only thing you ever hear is there's no money to fix it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even making an opinion on right or wrong with the border, but you suddenly found the money to put all these people into hotels for $400 a night, but we could never find the money to help Americans that were homeless.
Yeah.
It's disgusting
Yeah.
on the surface. Never mind how deep it goes or what is attached to that reason. Other than there's one reason to it. Like I used to volunteer and help with homelessness and some food shelters. Now, we both know people who do that.
Yeah.
Your mom and my friend Mike are good friends doing that. And great work. They keep trying to get me to go down, but I don't know if I have it in me to do it anymore. I used to do it in New York. And I just kept running into the people that were steering the ship didn't want it fixed because their paycheck came
Oh, yeah.
from people being homeless. If the problem was solved, their job went away.
For sure.
So they just went in every day and looked like they cared, looked like they were doing right things. And then they got the believers like us who took our time and went in, volunteered, walked through some pretty shitty streets and put up with some horrible smells and been assaulted. And all of that goes with trying to bring someone in off the street who may be suffering some mental issues as well. And then you go back and the person that's like running things for you is like, they don't really care if it's fixed because they just need to stay in that job.
Well, it's so multi-layered, right? You have, if you go down to the baseline individual who's living on the street, right? You have the ones who are stuck there. They want out. They don't know how to get out, but they can't get away from this addiction. You have the other ones who this is their life. They kind of don't want to get out of it, right?
Well, those I think come down to when we open up all the mental institutions and put them out. I mean, you just take New York State. New York State prior to Andrew Cuomo, I believe, and you could probably pull it up and show me correct or wrong. I think they had 60,000 beds for mental illness or struggling to find a proper term. And after Andrew Cuomo, it got down to 7,000. Andrew Cuomo, I believe, took beds for mental illness or down from 60,000 to like 7,000.
Well, this is a problem.
I mean, I've heard a lot of numbers thrown around. They're coming up more now that he's running for mayor.
I know he is.
All right, so what is it? Preserving.
Let's see.
Was that for homeless?
Homelessness. These actions.
Yeah, I'm talking about for mental illness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is the problem.
But even the homeless, though.
We're in this mental illness saga right now.
They have to jump through so many hoops to get into any of this housing also. And the requirements that they have to do and the rules that they have to live by. You know, you're talking about people who have been living in the street, scratching every meal they have. Their toilet habits are kind of free and wild now. You don't even give them a chance to reaccommodate themselves to living like a human being again.
Well, once you apply, you may not be able to get that housing for like 6 months or a year most of the time. Like they're so backed up to give you housing too. But somehow they were able to supply these other individuals, illegal immigrants and things like that, hotels immediately, right?
Right, but that they're short term though.
Did you just see?
They can't. A lot of the homeless, they can't be there during the day.
Oh yeah. It was 6 a.m. They got to be out and they can't come back unless it's.
And then they got to stand in line. They may or may not get a spot.
And hopefully just hang out at a library until then. But did you see the 2.1 million illegal immigrants that were on Social Security that was just released?
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
Oh my gosh! Did you see? Do you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Look this up. Elon Musk and
they
Doge.
voted too.
2.1 million are on Social Security that are illegal immigrants right now in the last couple of years. Illegal immigrants, Social Security. Put 2.1 million in.
So why is anyone against them fixing this?
I don't understand.
Well,
I do understand.
I got pushed out of the job I love so much for disability, and I have my disability that comes to me, and I'll survive with or without it. But a lot of people won't, and maybe you can give them a larger cost of living increase than 1%, considering what groceries are costing these days. But if you get just 2.1 million people that don't have rights to those benefits out of there.
What is this, Rolling Stone? I don't know if Rolling Stone's going to give you a good one on this. But
if they put a cheese head on them, they're not going to.
Yeah.
It's amazing how they just turned around on him.
Oh my God,
he was
isn't
their
it?
superhero for so long. He was their Tony Stark.
I know, isn't that well? That's where the everything's flipped. It just doesn't make sense where it's a cult. But people want to be told what to do. People want to be told who to follow. They do.
Not me.
No, not me either. Well, that's where I don't really believe I'm. Like, if you look at my beliefs, I'd fall on the right, but I don't really think I'm that either. Though.
I fall on the right, and my opinions on some right stuff are hard, but the majority of me is probably more middle, socially left. Like I say, I don't care. I'm a small government, less taxes, less intrusion into my life by the government guy.
Well, that's small government. Yeah, you want small government. You want just like freedom of speech and, socially liberal. I mean, it's a lot of people consider themselves that these days.
The right is now the free speech folks. So, but I can't believe it. But anyway, all that money that can help our homeless. All that money can help.
Go to the Doge website.
People that are on disability, Social Security, that only see like $800 a month.
Yeah.
How does anyone expected to live on that, even what rents cost?
Did you see the guy who was continuously crossing the border because he was getting, I think, $1,000 every time he crossed the border?
I spent a lot of time out in California, and I found one thing prevalent in San Diego. What do you think that was?
Look up savings. Go to savings.
Yeah. What do you think is two of the biggest businesses in the San Diego area? Whether it's on the books or not, you can see it. You can see it when you mailbox stores and check cashing places. And then maybe the
Okay.
check cashing places are winding down now because this is my late 1980s, early 90s experience when a check cashing place really had a need. They're still there, but with direct deposit, not so much. But
Yeah.
the mailbox stores were there because they had an address in America. Everything was Suite 102, which was just your box number. And the whole world knew that address. There were like 4,000 people in a store. How big was this building?
Yeah.
You know, they don't have high rises there like they do in New York.
But the check cashing, I mean, that's obvious, right? So they can't have bank accounts. They can't have,
But their checks were being mailed to their little mail post office box store, and then they walk across the street, or sometimes they were even joined.
yeah.
I don't, you know, I was just blown away by it back then on how many mailbox stores and check.
So this is estimated savings are $140 billion so far, brought to you by Doge, right? And then amount per taxpayer, I haven't seen that yet, $869 per person. Now, they have talked about possibly giving us checks from all this savings. But, I mean, this is why this isn't a bipartisan, why people aren't in agreement on this on both sides, I don't understand.
Because it's starting to look like this is the left slush fund.
Yeah. Now,
Well, who's screaming about it the most?
the left, yeah. But I don't. Well, the right's got to be involved somehow too.
Well,
I mean,
I'm not giving them a pass on it. But
Yeah.
if you're on the right and you don't agree with it, guess what they're doing? They're keeping their mouth shut.
yeah.
They're not standing out there making fools of themselves to America, saying, "I don't want to save you money. I don't want to save." Explain to me why Stacey Abrams needed $2 billion.
I don't know why she needed $2 billion.
That bank account had $100 in it. Whoever pushed the button to send that check should go to jail. Whoever told her to push the button should also go to jail.
That's what I really would like to know too. Why are the individuals who were, all right, $140 billion, who was pushing the $140 billion? Like, where were the people?
Well,
Why aren't their names attached?
We have to hope, and we have to give them a little bit more time for Cash Patel and
Yeah.
Bondi to start locking people up. Because to me, if you want this Trump administration to be successful and you want to change government now, change the government DNA, the only way you're going to do this is to put these people in jail. Every time these people get caught dirty, they're allowed to retire or they're
Yeah.
fired. And they go home and they live on the millions. They're still flying around in jets. They're living in houses most people can't live with. And they're still mixing with their Hollywood friends because they're millionaires.
Well, they're all given deals.
And they're
right?
none of it. They're never fined. Their money's never seized.
Mm-hmm.
You do the slightest thing wrong as a citizen, your bank account's frozen in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
They lock you up. You saw it down south a lot. Guys that make moonshine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'd get caught. The wife doesn't know anything about it. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But instantly, their bank account's frozen.
Okay.
And the government seizing their money because, well, we think your money was gotten illegally, so too bad. But these people get caught stealing millions and billions of dollars, and they get to be told, resign or you're fired. Either way, it doesn't matter. They end up with a broadcasting deal with MSNBC, and then they're doing speeches for $150,000 a speech. They have a lovely life. So what's going to prevent the next round from doing this? One, I think they're underpaid.
Who?
The politicians. And follow me on it because most people don't want to hear that.
No, okay.
You get what you pay for. I made more in my last year as a steam fitter than a senator.
What do you
Okay.
think paying them more is going to do?
Well, then you get better people. Right now, no, don't get me wrong, $160,000, $170,000 is a great paycheck.
Yeah.
But we're not getting the best for it. So maybe it's just something I'm kicking in my head. But
No, I've heard this argument.
they all get rich. And we don't know why. Why is AOC a millionaire already?
Because they become puppets.
Right. So you go in, maybe the salary's a little better. Nobody in your family, not your wife, not your kids, nobody. has anything to do with stock market. So there's no insider trading and stuff. And once you get caught dirty, you actually go to jail. I mean,
That's what
money.
happened.
When you look at these numbers like this, right? What does the average person do? 6 billion, 12 billion, 8 million, $30,000 to study whether seahorses are bisexual. They throw their hands up. Where'd the money go? I guess it disappeared. The money doesn't disappear. It starts out somewhere and it ends up somewhere. And it's easy to track. You just have to be willing to do it. And then you take everyone along that trail and you put their asses in jail. If that doesn't happen, this term's a failure because he wanted to change government and nothing's going to change. If they don't have any fear. I didn't know you were going to put that on.
No. But like, seahorses
might be. I don't know.
They actually are. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, they are.
So well, then the study was worth the money. Then,
Well,
wasn't it?
no, but the one I think you're talking about is rats. They did that with the rats.
I just blurted. I didn't know there was a real study.
No,
it
no,
wouldn't
it's not a
shock me if
study.
there
They
was.
are. No,
I saw there was a study on how fast your fingernails grow. So I mean, come on.
No, well, to me, it just sounds like money laundering, right? Or like it sounds
is
like
money laundering.
They're fudging stuff because they're paying people off, right? And
well, how many people? If you just take the spotlight, and Trump would be within his rights to do it because it's $2 billion that just moved illegally. Between the time he won the election and then he got sworn in, right? There was $100 in the account. How many people in Stacey Abrams' life now currently has a $100,000 more job for that foundation?
well, what is that old mob? What are those jobs called that you don't show up for, but you still get paid?
No-show.
The no-show jobs, right? So you get the no-show jobs.
Yeah, but see, if you're a gangster doing that on a construction site, you go to prison.
Yes, but now,
So how come
have they
don't?
gotten so good at eradicating a paper trail
Well,
that they're not getting?
You pull this one up. She did this whole big thing about appliances, and she had the little town in Georgia where they gave them appliances, and this was going to
Stacey Abrams.
make everything good for them, and green, and it was like millions of dollars, and I think they only did a small number of houses. Only came out to a couple of $100,000. Where did the rest of the money go?
Yeah, do that.
What am I looking for?
Yeah, what are you looking for?
Well, I'm struggling with it.
Stacey Abrams appliances. Just type that, see what comes up first.
She had a program where they were putting appliances.
Okay,
in the South.
do that.
I don't think it was a scandal. She's
Okay, alleged in $2 billion. Okay,
a voter buy, yeah, because she.
vote buying scandal.
I think if that's the one where they put appliances into these people's homes, they gave them new
The green.
dishwashers.
Okay, the funding which was
Yeah.
allocated for green home appliance
Right.
upgrades has been criticized as a potential Democrat vote buying scheme. So they'll put
Yeah, but
appliances in, but
I think
get your
there was
vote.
only like 79 homes, and the town clearly had more than that in it.
That's really expensive appliances.
So exactly, I'm like, she could have given half of Atlanta Bosch equipment for that kind of money.
That's the thing. It's not like one politician's dirty, and I'm
All
not.
right, but I'm just saying, there's $2 billion. Here's someone attached to also this appliance thing. Just concentrate on that as an example and put those people in jail. Guess what? A lot of people that know what's going on will start talking to save themselves.
There's a fear though that if we just start putting all these politicians in jail, it's going to make America look bad.
Well, you know what's look? Does it look good that you sit there and you allow all this corruption to continue to go on?
Yeah. I guess.
Does it look good that every time you want to do a budget, it's disgusting to begin with, and then after they pass these huge bloated bills, the next conversation they have is how taxes have to go up? Why do my taxes have to go up if this shit keeps going on?
Yeah, well, they found a thing called a government ATM, and they're all kind of going to it every chance they can get to pull out of it.
Right. And I'm not trying to make this look like lock up your political adversary thing. These people legitimately broke the law. You don't lock them all up. You couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't. And don't just stick with the left. They're on the right and they're doing it.
Yeah.
Lock them up. If you're going to have a president that locks someone up, at least let it be the one who's actually losing money while he's president, not getting rich as president.
Well, that's what's scary is I think everyone is a little bit dirty, and if they start, locking up their adversaries, then
I'm
they're
not
going to
saying
say,
adversaries, right and left.
yeah.
Right and left.
Well, I think Trump's kind of done that. He's called out some righties too. That
of course he did.
yeah, which is good, which makes him seem like maybe he is going to be.
Oh, I had his name on my lips this morning and the other day.
Dan Crenshaw's getting
Crenshaw.
a lot of attack
well,
right
he
now.
should. He's
Yeah.
on the top of the insider trading list.
Yeah, I don't like that because I liked him.
He was pro MAGA, Mr. America, and he got in
Yes,
there,
he is.
and all of a sudden he's singing a different song, and he doesn't have mattresses big enough to hide the money anymore.
Yeah, you got to check his bank accounts now for sure. I used to like him a lot, and now
I hate to say it, I don't want it to be after the fact, but I had a read on him, like I don't trust him, and now I know why.
well, he was too.
He was too much and knowing the right thing to say.
Yeah,
He didn't slip up once. He didn't show that I'm not 100% bought and sold into this. Because even the most extreme guy in his MAGA hat will say during this first administration, Trump did things that pissed him off. Because no president's perfect. No term is perfect. Trump did plenty the first time that pissed me off too. So Crenshaw never said anything that pissed anyone off. He always knew what to say. He always knew what to get the people behind him, rally him, push him over the top. And then he gets in there, and he's one of the dirtiest swamp creatures there is.
Yeah, I hate that. Well,
And Lindsey Graham.
Oh, and Lindsey Graham.
Oh, I can't stand that Trump keeps promoting this guy.
Well, I think this administration
He
was already
worked so much
completely different.
against him.
Yeah. Well, so I lived in Florida, right, for so long. So I lived in Florida during the DeSantis COVID era, and I love DeSantis. And I feel like he's someone who has still kind of stuck to his guns a little bit on what he's saying. Like he's pushed back a little bit on Trump and not going to go down. He's stuck to more DeSantis.
Well, I understand DeSantis. His Trump relationship's hot cold because he was a nobody till Trump endorsed him.
He was a somebody in Florida to us.
Yeah, but he didn't have national appeal. He wasn't Trump helped him over the top.
Oh, I think COVID helped him.
Well, but once he threw his hat in to run, they're going to throw knives at each other. They have to.
They have to.
And the problem is, you're going to get into that ring with Trump. You better be ready.
Well, you know who I do like.
You got to feel bad for Jeb Bush when he was trying to go.
Oh, he got murdered by him.
So if the New York sarcasm in him comes right out, and if you live in New York and you've been to New York, you exactly know what the read is on Trump, which is what always shocked me when I lived down here. I find the Philly attitude and the New York attitude are almost hand in hand. They're almost duplicate. And so many people around here can't figure him out. I'm like, how do you not figure him out?
Yeah.
He's the same guy that you're going to talk to outside an Eagles game.
Well, that's why I think people would see. I take my attitude, this attitude that I grew up with, right, and I bring it down to the South, and I was considered like an asshole when I got down there. And it was like, no, it's just how we talk. But to Georgians and Floridians, yeah, it's.
Oh no! When I was down there, I instantly got named Big Apple. So. Which was good because when they announced me, so they knew what they were getting.
You know who I do like that went up against Trump and then is Vivek. And he didn't. I'm a Ramaswamy. Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh, no, I loved him. But he wasn't going to beat him.
No, I don't think he ever truly planned to.
No. And
I think
he was always in his camp.
Yeah.
Listen, running for president, it gives you a war chest for other things.
Yes.
When you get all your donations, and it gets your name out there.
Yes.
It's the quickest way to have people know you. So even if you're not 5% serious about it, the only thing that's going to come out of it, whether Trump makes you look like a horse's ass, is everyone knows who you are. Mm-hmm. Who knew Vivek before, and who could say his name correctly?
Nobody.
Not
a clue who he was.
So.
I didn't know that he was a billionaire because of these companies he created. Didn't know.
Never heard of him.
I
was like, what the hell's a Vivek?
But
it
now
sounds like a bad disease.
But now he's been given a voice. And now he's on Value Team
and a
all these
welcome
podcasts.
voice because he's sharp as hell.
Yeah.
And
then,
maybe he's president 8 years from now.
well, what I liked about him after
I
that,
would be surprised if he's not. I hope I live to see it.
he'd be great because he's 40 years old, I guess, now, and so it's a younger Republican in there. But what I do like is that when he stepped down, he endorsed Trump right away, and he went to his rallies and just said only good things about him, which I think the left does really well. Is they stay together.
Oh, they always do.
Yeah, where the right kind of dismantles, and I don't. That's
Well,
kind of a problem.
I don't know if the right dismantles. They're so scared. They are cowards.
Yeah, yeah.
The Republican Party as a whole are cowards. If somebody's accused of something, they're out. Throw them under the bus. Have them resign. Get rid of them.
Well, that's like Gates, Matt Gates, right?
Right.
That now getting a little blackmail to make sure he couldn't become the DA. I mean, that's
Well, just take your Jersey.
Chris Christie.
No, the gold bar. Guy's on trial now. Jesus Christ, I can't.
Oh,
Name.
is he the most recent one?
Yeah, him and his wife.
What is it? It's just politics. What they step into a world. I don't think they think. I don't. Jersey Gold Bar mayor. I think
No,
it was the
Congress or senator. I can't remember his name at the moment.
Bob Mendes.
Yes. Now this is not his first time. The first time he went through, he didn't have to resign. If anything, he went through trials, and here he is again. The left stuck by him. Now take your fellow from. Well, see, the names I don't want to bring them up because the names aren't in my head right now.
Matt Gates.
No, on Long Island. He was lying about his degree.
Oh my God, that guy.
Yeah.
Jeez, but they really stuck by him too.
No, he had to resign instantly.
Oh, Suarez.
Yeah.
Is that who it was?
Is that he ran out of his own. Everything was, his mother was in concentration camp.
Yeah, Santos. That's it. Santos.
Yeah. Well, for the right was on TV slamming with every breath they could have. He's just a stubborn guy. He's out there now. He's acting, like, look, I did what I did. And honestly, if you listen to him, though, every politician lies to you. He just got caught.
Yeah.
I mean, he got too colorful. He
That's
said
a hard
stuff
lie
that
to
was
keep up with.
easily tracked. Was your grandmother in a concentration camp?
His was so wild though because everything he said was false.
Right.
Do you know about him, Matt? Oh my gosh,
Well,
he
because
became what?
If you look at his life, he was nobody. So he invented this character, and I
he was an
think with
actor.
him, he was just too growing up
We
on
all do
comic
stupid
books.
things. No, he didn't just do a stupid thing. He created an act. He created somebody he
Right.
wanted to be, and he ran with it. And he was very good at just
He put
keeping that.
he put on a political suit that was completely different than who he was.
Oh,
there
my
was no
gosh.
truth there. But again, everyone in the GOP in Nassau County condemned him right away. And meanwhile, you got gold bars, Mercedes-Benz in New Jersey, and the party's sticking by you. It's not the first time it happened. Had mistrials the first time. The rumors swirled around him all over the years, and they stayed behind him.
Well, this is where
The
I feel
left
like,
circles the wagons and protects them. They stick with the lie. They're not they're not backing off. The Republicans get scared right away. They're like, "Oh, you're done. You're out of here."
well, this is where I feel like the mafia never died. It just became the government, and these individuals are just dirty. And I don't know how we can try to solve otherworldly problems when we have problems like this in every city
Well,
and
I'm
every
fine
state.
if we don't. I'm fine if we don't.
Well, one thing
I
that
don't want our troops any more than 200 miles off the shore right now. We this country's lost its taste for fighting other people's battles, and I've lost my taste
Yeah.
for seeing our kids die. I've lost our taste for seeing the popular term "our treasure" spent on this nonsense.
yeah.
If we're not spending trillions on war someplace else, we can put that here and put it to better use. I'm not trying to build a wall and be behind like the Great Wall of China forever, not. But when this country was formed, the idea behind it was, we'll trade with you, we'll have relationships with you, but we're not going to fight your wars for you. And it was that way to World War One. And after World War One, now we got to stick our noses in everything.
Well, what do you mean? After World War One or World War Two?
After World War One, nobody wanted to be into World War One.
That was a weird war, though.
Right. And it was a
war.
horrible war. It was a brutal war.
Yeah. That's
Trench warfare and the invention of machine gun and mustard gas. I mean,
yeah. The chemical warfare during that is insane.
but the everybody running for president prior to that, their whole campaign was, I'm not going to get us into this war. I'm not going to get us into this war. The whole thing surrounding it, no one wanted to be into World War One in this country. And then we haven't found a war we didn't like since then.
Well, that's where it comes. You follow the money and you follow the drugs, kind of.
Well, I
because-
think that's pre arms race money, pre
Yeah, but
Lockheed,
now.
Boeing money, but now
Let's go to Vietnam and then Gulf War. We go through, and then these are just the big ones. But you go through. I think you follow the money and you follow the drugs. If you go and there's the weird theory of like Vietnam, the amount of all the opium production that was happening around the world was happening in like Laos and.
well, what did we protect over in Afghanistan?
Well, now where did all the production go? It went over to the Middle East, over in Afghanistan, where 90% of the world's opium was coming
troops
from.
standing there protecting poppy fields.
Did you see that one interview with the guy where he's talking? He's like, "We got to protect these fields," and that's mainly what our jobs. The Vietnam opium production, right? And then it goes away from the opium now is being produced in the Middle East, and now look where I think it's Malaysia is now. There's a new civil war that's happening in. I believe it's Malaysia because now all the opium production is now starting to happen in Malaysia or another country, but now we're trying to, I guess, overthrow one of their governments or something. Is it Malaysia? No, but you know what I researched recently?
Well, you got the opium wars up
So-
there. I think the movie The Sand Pebbles is.
I
based
watched a
on that.
documentary on this recently.
Well, that was a pretty good move, by China. They got big drug problem. We're gonna eliminate a drug problem by eliminating the problem. People.
No, I watched how the British pushed opium into China.
Oh yeah.
That they didn't have. I watched a little documentary on how they, how the British were able to get over. China didn't want anything to do with Britain at the time. They didn't need any trade. They didn't export anything to them. They didn't import. The British go over and they start trying to open trade with China. China's still like, well, we don't really have to do it. We're kind of on our own little space over here. And the British start secretly kind of pushing in opium, selling it. Then the Chinese are like, oh, we can't do this anymore. Our people, we're
Well, are you
we're losing workers,
getting
we're
a
losing everything.
challenge out of the people if they're high?
So then China pushes back,
Right.
right? And says, we don't want this anymore. But then British are secretly coming in and, bringing in, other goods, but opium's in this, right? And then they continue. I think it was like 40 or 50% of the population was addicted to opium at the time after Britain came in and did this. And then it kind of forced the knee of...
Well, I would say back in 1800s, the whole world had an opium problem.
Really?
I mean, there's my mother's side of the family is sketchy, but one day someone gets hold of my grandmother and they have a clay pipe at a restaurant in Manhattan that belonged to Buffalo Bill Cody, which is on my mom's dad's side. And she's like the only direct heir to it, and they want to give it to her, and she's just like, give it to the museum. But it was an opium pipe, and they were coming into Manhattan, and they were all little opium dens in Manhattan back then too. So it was everywhere.
Now it's
Like drug problems are, people think it's a modern day thing, but
no,
you have opium dens in New York City, so that somebody as famous as Bill Cody is in there puffing on an opium pipe.
yeah. But then I don't know if drugs were always a problem, and I don't know if I don't know the history of opium up until maybe the 1600s or something like that, because drugs, I don't know if they were always they were definitely, you had alcohol.
No,
you had other drugs.
I think it crossed from religious use.
Oh, look at this! Around 460 to 357 BC, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, acknowledges opium. So, I mean, I remember that scene from Saving Private Ryan when they that initial scene when they're charging the beaches and they're just hitting all those guys with morphine, right? And they're just knocking them all with morphine. These guys, you would wonder why they came back with addictions from anything. What was the
Well,
rate?
you can't blame them though at that though.
Well,
They're in
that's-
agonizing pain,
Oh no, I don't
and they're
blame them.
pouring
Yeah.
coagulant in there, and then the morphine in the coagulant helps stop the bleeding, stops the pain. Got to stop them from screaming sometimes, to give away positions.
Oh my God.
But yeah, they
I've never been in the military, and I don't think I ever. Like the older I get, the more I go, thank God I didn't do that. But
well, up until recently, I wouldn't allow my sons to.
yeah,
I don't think the government respects our children's lives.
well now we're not. Kind of to what we're saying. We're fighting all these other people's wars, or we're creating wars to.
Well, we're keeping the weapons manufacturers rich,
For sure.
and we want to keep them rich because I'm a politician and I vote for this war, and then when I finally get voted out of office, I get $1 million a year job with your company. So,
Well,
it's self-feeding.
have you ever watched that movie War Dogs?
Yeah,
I mean, or you know what the better one is, Lord of War.
yeah.
That have you ever watched Lord of War? Oh, with Nicolas Cage.
Didn't we just trade him?
Oh, for Brittany Griner.
Yeah,
We
Oh,
traded.
that was a good trade.
Yeah. Do you know? Have you never seen this movie, Matt?
No.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Oh my gosh! And they all start as kind of nobodies, right? Like he came up. Oh, and Jared Leto's in this too. He's good in that. Yeah, he's pretty much becomes the biggest arms dealer in the United States, and he's just living in New York, has an attractive wife, but then he's going over to Africa, and he's going over and just training these arms, and it's insane. And it's based on a true story. And then we caught him, had him in jail for like 20 years, and then when Brittany Griner got caught in Russia, they traded her for him. That's him right there,
Yeah.
Victor Bout. That's who we traded to get Brittany Griner back. And I'm not saying that her life doesn't matter or anything
Well,
like that.
you had a Marine and a newspaper man in there for years before her, but
He just got released too recently.
yeah. But make the deal for all of them. So,
Yeah, but now,
especially if you're giving him up.
yeah, the amount of people that the deaths that he's responsible for. If you want to break down any bullet that he's ever sold,
And she's over there on her own stupidity. You're going there with weed. Are you out of your mind?
well, it's a weird American mentality that we think the rules don't apply outside of the United States that we have here.
Well, shame on you. 'Cause
Yeah. Well, that's I think
you're gonna go to Iran. You're gonna go to Russia. You're gonna go to North Korea, and you're gonna just think you're gonna be the ugly American and get away with it.
Well, I think Americans don't realize that we live in this bubble.
I mean, like the poor kid that took the poster off the wall in North Korea. He came back basically. I think he died before he got back.
But what North Korean kid?
The American kid was in North Korea.
How did he get into North Korea?
I guess he was there on a school trip.
How you can just go to North Korea?
I think you can. but-
Was he a hostage?
This is a couple of years ago, so his name's not coming to my head. But
I
there he goes.
what?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Wait, what is it? He was released by North Korea. What is submersion process by which values and principles the system in place for country?
If this is him, yeah.
Wait, and died soon after his parents requested his feeding tube to be removed.
Yeah, that's him.
All right. So
I think he took a poster down, thinking he could.
he went on a guided tour in 2016, arrested at their airport while awaiting departure from the country, convicted of attempting to steal propaganda poster from his hotel,
Right. Yeah.
which was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment and hard labor. How I just don't understand. I didn't think you could go into North Korea. So, geez, I would never want to be in a North Korean jail.
No, there's a lot of places I'll choose to go to first. That's not it.
Yeah.
Iran's not there. China's not there.
Oh, you want to go to China?
I do not. I probably would if the politics were different, and I don't want to be followed every step of the way and then wonder
Okay.
The slightest mistake puts you in jail. How you having a good vacation that way?
Well, like there's
Maybe we can ask Tampon Tim how you get away with that on 60 trips, but I can't.
he went 60 trips
I
to
don't know how many
China.
times he went. He had several.
He's back out speaking again, I think.
Oh, well, because he doesn't think he was the problem. He's
Do you not know
he's
who
the
Tampon
poster
Tim
boy
is?
for beta males, but he's not the problem.
Tim Waltz. Yeah, he was the running mate to Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
But
I think in his entire life, he's probably been to China, I don't know, 30 times.
he was an oddball.
How many
though.
times? I got to get the answer now.
You kept in the tampon part.
Well, I mean, when he put them into the boys' bathrooms, he was called Tampon Tim right away by his own state people. The Republicans didn't name him that. People of his state did.
Well, he wanted to put tampons in male bathrooms, right? So
Yeah, boys' bathrooms, yeah. Not even adults.
30 times.
30 times.
Oh, he went there on his honeymoon.
Well, he says he was there for the kid staring down the tank,
Oh, Tiananmen Square.
Tiananmen Square, which was proven that he wasn't.
Well,
You know, if you're there, you're there. Don't lie about something so easily checked like that.
yeah, that's a weird one too. The things that he got caught lying about was strange, and then we just brushed that off as well. But
Well, because he's
His
one
rank.
of these guys that doesn't know how to be a man, and he thinks he does.
even his wife came out and said some weird stuff about him, I think.
Because they're I don't, and it's not even what party he's with. Like, if this guy was on the right too, I'd be like, what is wrong with this guy? What guy goes out with the flailing hands like that? This whole weird personality. I don't like when any politician, when they do the pointing into the crowd, and they're like, like you're having a conversation with who?
Yeah.
There's 4,000 people there. Exactly who did you spot there? I hate that. And then this guy comes out with the big jazz hands and this big fake smile, and then he opens his mouth.
But people liked him in what state was he? What state was he governor of? It starts with an M.
Minnesota, yeah.
Minnesota. People liked him in Minnesota. I think he was pretty well. Like he had a few good policies. I
Well,
think
they're
there.
funny people there, don't you know? I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
I think he was well liked there though. So
Yeah, well, you know, if you could get away on the state level with this whole Coach Tim thing,
yeah,
and you're not really getting put under the microscope like that, like you're going to be when you're going to go into a presidential race.
yeah.
I mean,
I don't
and
know.
no, and listen, every state you go to, people are a little different than you other, you know. So
The one that I don't understand when it comes to China though, and how this individual is still operating in the government. Who's the one who was caught with the spy?
I think it might be Swalwell.
No, Swalwell. Yeah, that's it. Swalwell.
Yeah.
How
He was
do you
dating
know
the
about
spy.
this,
Yeah,
Matt? Do you know about Swalwell caught with the Chinese spy?
yeah.
That's his name is Eric Swalwell, right there.
Yeah.
He was caught with he was dating a Chinese spy, right?
Yeah, but he has no problem going out pointing the finger at everybody, does he?
No, dude, caught with spy. He cannot keep his freaking mouth shut. And he gave up a bunch of secrets or something, didn't he?
Yeah, well, you know.
He's, Democratic California, under intense scrutiny, some sharp criticism, especially with
Every
Republicans.
government uses the honey trap.
Yep, for sure. It's
So
oldest trick in the book.
the Chinese worked him.
Her
man.
name was Fang Fang?
Yeah,
Jesus. And her name was Fang Fang.
yeah.
I mean, look, I wonder, how did she do it? And maybe it wasn't that hard for her to do
So
it.
who's the what's her name? Oh my God, this isn't good. This isn't good broadcasting. Not remember everybody's names. The woman who had the spy for the driver. Yeah, I think she was a representative.
Her driver was the spy?
Yeah,
I don't know. It was a female.
yeah. She had
Congresswoman
for
or
years. Her driver was a Chinese spy, and
What?
then they came up with it, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry about it."
How suspected Chinese spy gained access
Yeah,
to.
Diane Feinstein.
Oh,
Yeah,
my God, I didn't know
Feinstein.
that.
Yeah. I just couldn't. I was like, I know it was Diane. I just couldn't get her last name out. 20 years,
And they're just reporting.
but eventually forced to retire. I don't know if she was forced to retire or she did because
No, it
she
says
was,
a driver was eventually forced to
But
retire.
I think she's out
Wait.
now. I think she's like 100. So
I'm talking about the driver was eventually forced to retire. What do you mean? So once we found out he was a spy, we just forced him to retire. We didn't arrest
Well,
him.
she didn't have to, and she was on the phone in the car talking, and and then when it came out, she almost didn't care. It's like, well, he was a nice guy,
Oh, what secrets was she getting from Feinstein?
Oh, who knows?
I guess any little information.
They're
once
on
you
the
get
phone
enough
all the
spies
time
out
talking
there.
about everything. Listen, when you're trying to when you're spying on a country, any little bit of information you're going to take, you don't know where it leads you.
Yeah, I guess if they got
If
a
you're
bunch
gonna
of
if you're
spies
gonna
out
have
there.
a big to do about Houthis and how people are texting about it, and you're not going to worry about a spy sitting in the car with a senator every day.
If you got 100 spies out there and you each get a little piece of the puzzle, you can put that puzzle together.
Right. Everything that you get can be capitalized on. So,
Yeah. Well, whatever came of it, they get anything?
and you don't know. I don't think she didn't face anything. She didn't even have to resign her post for not being aware. She just went on and continued to.
And she was Republican?
I don't think so.
Oh, she was.
I don't care what side she's on.
Yeah, she was American, and that's.
Well, Trump mocked her, so no.
Yeah, I know he didn't like her.
Eh.
Yeah, that's where I just don't. When it comes down to this politics of these individuals still stay in power, they're still operating. I don't understand it. How stuff like this can happen and we don't just kick them out or arrest them or whatever it is.
Well, when they do get kicked out, they just get to resign. Like.
And then they kind of show back up.
Yeah. Usually as a talking head on a news program somewhere, but their voice is still heard.
Well, I feel like when one side, I mean, if someone gets in trouble on the right, they can easily just shift over to the left and then become just, kind of a talking point.
Well, it's easy for the rhinos because they like, I saw the light, and then the left welcomes them because they can hold them up like little beacons. Like, look,
Yeah.
we got this one. We changed them.
Yeah.
But the guy was never committed to the cause to begin with. So the thing is, on the left, they're all committed. You can't break them. They circle the wagons. They stay together.
The left?
The Republicans are cowards. They're cowards. The whole lot of them.
Well, I feel like some of the left just broke a little bit. We have, what's her name now? From Hawaii.
Was she really?
Was she really left?
Or was she a libertarian?
For sure, a libertarian.
Listen, when Trump was first running, I loved Tulsi Gabbard from the first time I ever saw her. See, if you have something to say, and it's good and it's grounded, and I think it can help, I don't give a damn what letters next to your name. And she was one of those to prove my point on that. The minute she opened her mouth, I loved everything she had to say.
Yeah.
Was she a Democrat because it's the only way you get elected in Hawaii?
Maybe. Probably. Because she has
But she certainly didn't speak like one.
She had very right views on, gun control, the way we spend our money. But when it came socially, she was pretty liberal.
Yeah, but
and she still is.
Personally, the Republicans should stop worrying about what people do in their bedrooms. It's the best thing they can do for themselves.
Yeah.
Stick with your guns because you're gonna always win
Oh,
that.
my God.
Because I'm never giving them up.
When it comes to gay rights or abortion, we got to leave that
But
alone.
isn't it funny though? If you go through history, sexual scandals with Democrats are always with women, and sexual scandals with Republicans, a majority of them they're caught with men.
Really?
Yeah. I remember growing up, every time a Republican got caught, maybe it's something you can find, but I just remember as a kid, every time some Republican got caught, he was usually the guy on TV speaking about, the gay scourge. And I just remember so many guys growing up.
List of political sex scandals.
Yeah, well, there's a list of everything out there, brother.
Contains notable sex scandals in American history. God, this would be a fun...
I don't even know why sex should be a scandal.
Ah, man. Well, because they make it one.
Well,
They
the only person that should be a scandal to is your spouse. Other than that, mind your business.
No, I agree.
If the guy or the girl's getting laid and it doesn't affect a damn thing in their job, why is it an issue?
Yeah. No, this is a tough one because this is the easiest one to blackmail somebody on.
Well, that's the one thing about it is, the honey pot.
Yeah, it's easy to do. That's why. And they can and it's so much shame too. Like they really get you on. They can use it to shame you so easily.
Yeah, well, if you're smart, you just go on a screen and you own into it.
Yeah, that's
You
probably the
say,
best way to do it.
I was attracted to this person. You can't tell me who to love. And be done with it. And look them in the eye and see who's going to tell you you can't be, especially today.
You know who's coming back out is and she was just on a podcast recently. The biggest female podcast is Call Her Daddy, and she just went on it. What's her name? I
Don't
did
get
not
me
have
started
sexual.
on Call Her Daddy.
No,
Monica Lewinsky.
Monica Lewinsky is now has a voice again.
Well, she should have never not had a voice.
I agree. Yeah,
She should have never not had a voice.
yeah, she got the brunt end of that one.
This whole thing
She
with
was
pages and interns
Yeah, a few
in
weeks
government,
ago.
it's disgusting.
She just went on. Yeah, February 26th. So
To turn around and say, "Oh, it was Bill Clinton's sex life. It's none of our business." It is our business. He was her superior. Period. If it was corporate anywhere, she could have sued him.
yeah,
He would have lost his job for banging an intern that he had power over.
yeah,
So I don't know why she should have ever lost her voice. She lost her voice because he was a golden child to one party, and they had to paint her in a horrible way. She's just a dumb girl.
I don't think
This
she's,
guy-
I wouldn't call her a dumb girl. I
No,
think that
a dumb girl in terms of dealing with a man, not a dumb girl in intelligence. I don't mean it that way. She was up against a force. I mean, this guy, he could talk the panties off a statue.
she was 22 years old.
What does she know?
Yeah, that's not fair to her.
The
yeah, that's
charisma that Bill Clinton had, people felt at 100 feet. Could you imagine you're her and he's
Yeah.
giving you his attention?
yeah,
You're just some young girl, you're an intern there,
yeah.
and you hang on every word he says, and then suddenly you're the one? What chance does she have?
None. Yeah,
And she
really.
certainly didn't deserve to lose her voice. She certainly didn't deserve to be described as a pig. The whole time that went on, and my friend's like, "What do you care about it for?" I'm like, at some point we have to worry about these victims sometimes, because you
Yeah.
like the guy that did it, he gets away with it, and then she gets beat up for what?
Yeah, that's not good.
She was seduced by an older man who had buckets of charm. She didn't stand a chance.
Yeah,
And
Clinton.
if I'm wrong, I'm sure people will tell me, but I never saw it that way. I felt for her.
Talking about Clinton, you ever read that book American Made?
No.
Oh my gosh, man! You know that movie with Tom Cruise where he's running drugs from?
Oh yeah.
All right, so it's based off of Barry Seal, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Look up Barry Seal. That's so American Made is the whole story of Barry Seal. It's
About flying them. Yeah. Well, I knew about it at the time it was going on. Yeah.
Read American Made. That book is so good, but it goes into Clinton and Arkansas and those boys that got killed on the train tracks, and who the calls were coming in to run that stuff through Louisiana up to Arkansas, running the drugs through it was the governor of Arkansas at the time, which was Bill Clinton. And then he died with George Bush. I think George Bush Sr.'s name in his pocket and number. Right, he was killed in like a hotel parking lot or something.
Wow, I don't know why the hell he would have George Bush's name in his pocket.
Senior became president at that time. I
Yeah.
think. Well, this was during the Iran Contra too, wasn't it? So they were. This is how they were. The Iran Contras, right? They were using the drug money to give money to
So this
Guatemalans or
I think it was El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Yeah. But that would be Reagan.
Okay. Yeah, but Senior was then head of this CIA,
yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they.
Well, the funny thing about Senior and Reagan and the CIA is Hinckley, who shot Reagan. What's his name again? First name?
I don't know.
John Hinckley, I think.
Who shot Reagan? Yeah, getting into the
Yeah.
car.
I believe it. 2 days prior to that,
John Hinckley.
yeah, John Hinckley Jr. Bush Senior is having a pretty suspicious lunch with him. So if you ever want to go down the conspiracy trail on that one,
On Hinckley?
yeah, well, that George Bush Sr. is having lunch with John Hinckley Sr. days prior to Reagan's assassination attempt, and supposedly he's like a little MK Ultra guy. There's a lot of stuff out there about him, and Bush Sr. arranging the assassination attempt.
Dude, this Bush
And
crime...
we'll just say this so neither one of us gets sued. We don't know any if it's true, but you know.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah, but there's a lot. There was so much stuff back then. You know, there was just so much said about those two guys meeting, and then Reagan getting shot.
Well, there's a big... You can go down the conspiracy road of the Bush crime family is what they call it. That's going all the way back to Prescott Bush.
Well, Prescott Bush is...
Yeah.
He's as dirty as dirty. But
And-
he kept it on a much lower key than Joe Kennedy did.
Yeah, but wasn't he the head of some banking system that in the 1920s, I think it was?
Well, all the Bushes protected the banks. You know, they were big on bank bailouts.
And then oil, right? So once the oil came to Texas, they jumped on board of that. But the Bush crime family goes pretty deep.
No, I hated the Bushes.
That's another
But
one.
see,
So
that's
if we're
a
gonna
funny thing
take,
for a guy that, you know, I'm on the right. I couldn't stand the Bushes.
yeah, that's I think that's kind of across the board now with the right.
Well,
is
Roger Stone's probably the one to watch on the Bush-Hinckley connection, because
Yeah.
he was speaking out back then about Bush Sr. having lunch with John Hinckley's father prior to. So I guess he's still doing it.
Yeah, Roger Stone's known for creating all these types of documentaries. JFK, I think he does too, right? Is it Oliver Stone or Roger Stone? That
Oliver Stone's a documentary. Roger Stone's a political advisor, campaign guy. They were just when during Trump's first term, they went into his house and armed guards. You know, this 74-year-old man, 6 o'clock in the morning,
when they seized everything.
because he was attached to Trump.
How long have we been talking for, Matt?
2 hours and 30 minutes.
Oh wow, shit, that's all the time. Last thing but have you looked into the JFK stuff yet? What's coming
Not
out
yet,
about it?
no.
Well, there's
No.
nothing.
No, I didn't.
One
think
guy
they-
made a comment. He's like, I think we can all agree on one thing, that JFK is dead.
Well, if you
And that's all,
expected anything
like-
to come out of it, then you were foolish.
Yeah, no, I didn't think anything would come out of it.
If you're
like the Cliff Notes on
connected
it?
enough to pull this off, people that can arrange an assassination of a president aren't leaving any breadcrumbs leading back to them. They're just not. And if they are, they've had all these years to pull this stuff out and wash the files.
Or get rid of people.
Well, that too. When you see the amount of deaths that surrounded it, so. And you're never going to know about Trump's. You're never going to have a definitive answer on it. Nobody's even looking into it. It's like they don't care.
On what?
On Trump's attempted assassination.
Oh, well, that stuff is so wild that the guy gets, the one, whatever his name is, Tom, or the guy from Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
How they show up, they clean his house. There's no silverware in it. They cremate the body afterwards. We get no investigation.
Well, they washed the roof down.
Everything.
Those crime scenes stay protected for weeks. They will pull a pebble off the roof on the chance to pull DNA off it. And then some guy shows up out of nowhere, tells all the FBI, all the state police guys, whatever pictures, everything you have in your phone, you send to me. And they all do it like obedient little idiots because he's in a suit and they don't even know who he is.
Why do we get no investigation on this?
Because it's Trump.
But, okay, did you see this?
Well, because does it go back, like I said before, BlackRock might have bought themselves an assassin. The kid was in
BlackRock commercial?
videos and commercials.
Yeah,
and,
do you know about that, Matt?
No.
Thomas Crooks was in a BlackRock commercial like a year or two before he attempted the assassination. Now,
the guy couldn't get on his school marksman team because
Yeah.
it was a horrible shot.
and he
He
shot.
pulled that shot off, hurried, because the only way he's a failure is because Trump turned his head. This kid pulled off the assassination. He was on his mark. He hit his mark. The kid did the job. Fate changed that. Trump turned his head. He doesn't turn his head. That kid blows the back of his head out, and it's over. So this kid did his job. So how do you go from such a shitty shot that you can't make a rifle team in your school to assassinating a president?
They tried to watch this video from the internet, I'm pretty sure, where they have him. I mean, I've watched the episode where he's in the school classroom and he's in the BlackRock commercial.
Right.
But the other thing, I heard this, I think I heard it on like the Joe Rogan podcast, but the only live streamed Trump rally, the only Trump rally that CNN live streamed was that one.
Right.
Did you the only time they ever did it was that one?
And also CNN stopped showing up at them.
Yeah, except for this one.
Yeah. And even Fox started only showing portions because Trump was having 2 or 3 a day. So I get it.
Yeah.
But CNN just stopped going altogether, and they stopped showing anything from him unless he made some statement that they thought they can get some mileage out of. So the only thing they cared about a Trump rally was to pick on the MAGA people there, and hopefully Trump threw some bones to dogs that they can put their teeth into. So the fact, I watched the whole thing live. I thought they killed him.
Oh my God! When it actually happened,
I just walked in the door, turned it on. He was talking. I'm telling my dog Luna, sit down. We'll go out in a minute, because I don't even know what he was. When he was pointing to the map, I don't know why I held my interest, but I just said, I'll take you out in a minute, and I watched it. I thought they got him.
First of all, when you're saying picking fun at MAGA people, it's definitely easy to pick fun at some of those MAGA people at those rallies and such. But even the post interviews with some of those MAGA people felt a little scripted.
You got a lot of dummies on the left too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Listen, I belong to
it's easy to pick
a
fun
labor
at some...
union. Listen, some of these guys will look for a corner to piss in a round room. Okay, they're not that bright. They have their skills in the trade they do. The only thing they know about a book is if it lifts up the short leg on a table. And they're at these rallies, and nobody picks on them. And you listen to their interviews, and they're, Rocky Balboa after a 10,000 round fight. They don't have anything good that come out of their mouth, but they don't get picked on. Or when these people are out there, from the river to the sea, what river, what sea? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you think you'd educate yourself before you start shouting this? What that might mean? That's ethnic cleansing on your side, that you want to push this whole race of people into the sea? But you'll scream it like it's what?
Yeah. Like they know it.
Cheer practice at high school?
And they believe it. But
yeah,
this is wild, though, that nothing's ever been done about this.
Or the other one.
The guy who shows up at the golf course?
Who's over in Ukraine.
Oh, well, he has a while. Well, we know some stuff about him.
Yeah, but because the trail's there. They can't.
I think he acted a little bit more on his...
Okay. I've heard that, too. Acted on his own. You and me, yourself, we go to Ukraine. Now what? How do you find who you speak to recruit people?
Forums online.
No. He's dealing with people in the government there.
Oh.
You can't just walk in and say, I want to recruit people to bring them in to help fight for your cause.
Yeah, and did he actually recruit people over there?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that he went over there for
I believe he was bringing in
ex-military.
like Islamists.
Oh, I thought he was bringing like old Marines that wanted a pay cut, like $10,000-$15,000 to go over and fight in Ukraine.
Well, I'm not. There are mercenaries out there. There are companies that just do that. So.
Oh, I have a buddy, Brett. So Brett almost went and did this. His one friend, I was talking to him. He was going over and he was getting $15K to go fight in the Ukraine for. I think like 6 months or something, or not 6 months.
Oh, that's horrible.
That's short term. Yeah, I think it was
that's
1 month or something then. But
he could have just gone over and did natural gas liquefaction in Qatar or Qatar for $200,000 tax free. Why would you go get shot at?
Oh no, this wasn't so much about the money. He wanted a purpose.
I understand that.
Oh, this guy is struggling. Let's just say the individual that he was talking to, he's struggling with his life over here. He was He used to clear houses. That's what he would do. So he'd go in the Middle East and he would clear homes. That was his job. He'd go.
And how many tours did he have?
3 or 4, I think.
It's all right. He's done.
Oh no,
He doesn't know how to live here.
he doesn't know how to live here.
No.
So he wants to go back and fight.
Well, listen, there's a place for that, and I think mercenary forces is not a popular opinion with most people. It has its place because there are countries that don't have the ability to defend themselves, and the only problem is they also get hired by bad actors.
Yeah, but going back over there, I don't think it was about getting the $15,000 or
No.
whatever it was. I think he needed a purpose. He needed that little bit of what it was before to happen
That's a hard
again.
purpose, though, because when you're serving your country, you have a belief or an assumption that you're doing right for your country. When you're over here, you're just picking who you want to win.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a little hard for me to chew on.
Well, this individual who created
No, I'm not taking away that he can't live here and he needed that. I know a lot of guys like that, but
I think he entertained the idea, but he didn't do it. But I was speaking to him one time when he was speaking to an individual who was over in Ukraine doing what, because I think he was in the same unit as him or whatever it's called. But this guy who was going over and possibly doing the same. I don't know much about this. I know that we know more about the individual of the second assassination attempt.
well, he
But-
had like what 8 cell phones,
Oh, I don't know.
and he was penniless. What's your cell phone bill every month?
130.
Okay, so
something
how
like
does he manage almost $1,000 a month in cell phone when he has a pot to piss
that.
in?
Well, this guy looks a little crazy too. by the way.
Well, yeah, but how does a crazy guy get over, deal with the Ukraine government, find people in the Mideast, find mercenaries, and bring them there?
and
And
why?
then he's attached to an assassination attempt on the one guy who's saying, I'm going to end it day one.
Well, that's what I don't understand either too. About
Because too many people are making too much money.
well,
for it to
the
end.
laundering. That's this. I think this was a proxy war, and it was money laundering.
We're always in a proxy war.
I know, and it's
There's always somebody on the other side that Lockheed, Boeing, you name the contractor, wants to see how their weapons stand up. That's
yeah.
why
We were testing
most
weapons.
of our enemies never want to go barrel for barrel with us
yeah,
because we're too good. War is what we do now.
yeah,
For almost 100 years, it's all we do. We get involved in war. We exported everything we make and let other countries do that for us, and now our number one export is war.
yeah.
I don't think I'm wrong there.
No,
And then
the
in our
military-industrial
DNA
complex.
with guns, you talk to anyone, even like during World War II, you talk to the Germans and even the Japanese knew it. You never wanted to get into a barrel-for-barrel confrontation with the Americans because we're too comfortable with guns and we're too good.
Yeah. But the one thing, if you want to think this is a cool part, is we got to test a lot of military equipment that we have over in Ukraine, and we gave it to the Ukrainians, allowed them to test it, which
And
was
it's a shame now because there's like 1.5 million people dead for it.
yeah. That's
That's the disgusting side of that.
well, and I think it's like double amount of Russians are dead to the Ukrainians, right? I think it's like 600. How many people have died?
I'm not sure those numbers are even true.
Well, the
Because
numbers that we do have.
The numbers that they're protecting, I think they're protecting a lot of numbers on Ukraine's side to make them look like they're winning. So a lot of Americans don't lose their taste for this.
Yeah, but I think it's around like 600,000 Russians that the number that we're
I
getting.
think
at least.
understand there's over 1.5 million people dead.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's around that.
If you just throw it down the middle, it's too many. It's one.
It's
One is
so
too
many.
So
Yeah, it's so many people.
I think 46,000 is an
No.
underestimate.
Russian military casualties, 800 combat losses around 839,000, including killed, captured, and wounded as of February 1st. And then Ukrainian casualties. No, that's not true. So that's civilian. That's
That's a
civilian.
casualty.
I don't even buy those civilian numbers. Have you seen some of the cities?
Yeah, they're gone. Is that
I
what you're
don't listen, and I don't buy the numbers on civilian deaths in Palestine either. They're all washed on over too. So,
Man.
because this country doesn't have the taste to send our children off to fight someone else's war anymore, and we certainly don't have the taste to watch a million civilians die.
Well, yeah, that's why I think our numbers are down in the military. Then people are
Well,
just
they're
not.
back up now.
Well, that's what one thing I didn't understand. Trump didn't run on earlier in 2020 was I'm the only president to not start a war or invade a new country since Eisenhower or something. It was like 70 years. He was the first president not in 2016. He was the first president not to invade a new country or start a new war since Eisenhower. And I don't know why he didn't run on that in 2020, but
Well, he said it at his rallies.
yeah, not
But
loud
if you
enough.
know him, you already know that. He's not. He's the one thing you have to say about him, especially when it comes to war. He's been singing out of the same hymn book for 40 years. He's not saying anything different that he didn't say on Oprah Winfrey's show a billion years ago when she liked him.
Yeah.
And when she asked him, do you think he could ever run for president? She's not the only one to ask him that because what he said made sense. Like I was a love-hate relationship with him. I was working on a lot of his jobs, and he's a great man to work for. His jobs are super clean. He worries about safety. He walks them. But his left stuff would come up, and he would just be all over the place with it. But then he started talking back then when we got into the Gulf Wars. There was one guy out there saying we shouldn't be in it when the whole country was waving flags. Oh, we got to go. I'm like, well, why are we going in there? They're not the ones that took the buildings down. Why are we going in? Why are we going into... What did Saddam Hussein do to us when it was mostly everybody was out of Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, but see, look who still has those contracts over there. Like the Halliburton contracts and stuff over there. So now we know why we went over there. But they'll never admit that.
Well, no.
Yeah, that's
But he's never changed his mind on how he felt about war. He's always said we don't need to be running around the globe fighting other people's battles, killing our children.
no, but it pays.
Of course, it pays.
Yeah.
But now you have to see. Like I said, as the American people are tired of watching our children go fight a war thousands of miles away. Something has absolutely nothing to do with us. We're losing our taste for it.
Yeah.
And I think he's currently teetering on the edge of a mistake right now because Israel wants to go into Iran. It's like I've been on some
They've wanted to for a
intelligence
while.
sites that they want to do it within the next week.
You got to shoot the missiles over. What's the other country in between?
They're not
Iran and
shooting
Israel?
any missiles over anything. They're going to fly because Syria
Syria,
no
that's
longer
it.
has a air defense system to stop the Israelis. So right now, Israel's decision is that while this window's open because Assad's gone, there's no longer any air defenses. They took out their air force.
Yeah.
They'll go in from the north, do what they got to do, and America comes in from the south. I think proof of it is, if I get the name right, we could put it up though. I think it's Diego Garcia is an island. It's probably off the coast of India out there. That's like a halfway point, and I think we have.
What is it?
Yeah, that's it, Diego Garcia. Yeah, we have 30% of our B2 fleet there right now. Air
I know.
fleet.
I've heard, what you're talking about. I've heard is I thought they've been talking about this for a while that they were going to.
No, we
they were
just
just
moved- we
waiting
just-
to be attacked.
We just moved the entire a third of the bomber fleet there.
Oh, you think it's gonna happen then, like soon?
Well,
Very soon.
Israel's rattling the sword that they have to go through now while they have the opportunity, and Trump's not poo-pooing it. But if he's doing this, he's going against what he said as far as not wanting to start another war.
Yeah, but I felt
And to a certain point, his VP doesn't want to do it. He didn't want to go in against the Houthis right away. He said, we have time for that. We don't need to do this. We have other things. So they're starting to butt heads on that stuff because he knows it's running away from what they talked about.
I like J.D. Vance, though.
But, Trump's love for Israel and being their ally runs deep. So
I thought Israel has just been waiting to be attacked for the last months so they could go and do this.
well, right now there's so much stuff that's being put into place look like it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I'm not an Israeli. So I don't have much to I don't really have a side on this. But if I was sitting in Israel and I keep getting attacked,
if we're gonna do it, all right. If we're gonna do it and we're gonna help because we're their ally, okay. I think you have to sell it as they've been saying for a year they're a week away from a bomb. So I don't know what week they get one.
I thought they already got some. They got some recently.
I don't know.
I'm saying they got some they
So if you're gonna go into this and you're gonna do this to take that out, that's the only reason I'll accept. Because right now there's nothing. What they always had to worry about was what Syria could do to them. Right now there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, and then Lebanon's
I think Al Qaeda's running Syria now, right? So they're not running. They took out all the air defenses. They took out the airport, the air force. So
and they got a bunch of the Hezbollah in Lebanon, right?
Well, Hezbollah, that's their hometown.
In Lebanon, yeah.
Yeah.
Beirut.
Yeah.
And then you got Gaza to the south.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, they're pretty surrounded. If I was an Israeli, I don't know how I'd feel about this, probably.
It's a horrible place to be, but...
Yeah. But I think Tel Aviv is the tech headquarters of the world or something right now. So, I don't know. Well, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah.
All right.
So you have to bring me back if you want to talk about bodyguarding and stuff.
Yeah,
we ran away from
anytime you want. Yeah, I think
maybe I'll come back. I'll be a lot thinner. Drug will work.
Do you ever consider the Ozempic train that people are doing?
My problem isn't weight loss. My problem is fluid.
Yeah, hopefully whatever medication
like
you're on.
I said, I couldn't wear these pants last week, so.
Well, that's good. So that's improvement. That's 1 week.
I'm not hating it. What I wait for is for this part to just disappear.
Is the fluid in your gut as well? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's all over me, yeah.
What's creating this fluid?
Well, the lymphedema from the radiation.
Oh, so is that lymph nodes?
Shut down portions of my lymph nodes that would pull all the horrible fluids out of your body.
And now,
so right now I got like a little toxic stew forming inside of me.
Jesus, that sounds kind of fucked up.
It is fucked up. It's not good for you. That's why I've been struggling for the last 2 years to figure out how to fix it.
You need to go on like a 40-day fast or something.
Oh, I did, and I lost 40 pounds, and in a week, 15 of it was back. Jeez. Because the sodium, the chemicals, the additives, all in the food don't help this.
So what are you going to do? Just drink green juice or something?
I don't know, because I'm even in shape, especially since when I was fighting, I trained 7 days a week. I owned a couple of partners in a couple of schools on Long Island, so I taught. So I was constantly fighting, constantly training, and I could eat. I would do my 2 hours of training in the morning and then run 4 or 5 classes that day. In the evening after steam fitting, so at full days. And I would go out and drink gallons of beer and eat an entire pizza and never put an ounce on.
Yeah.
But old age changes that, and then
whatever
illness changes it. So,
well, hopefully this works out.
So I'm a guy that always. I probably think I train to eat. Because I like it. I love a good steak, and I love nothing more than a really good cooked meal. I love a good experience like that. And it's one thing when I travel around, I always try to make sure I found good food. So I think I always trained so I could.
Well, that's why I exercise, so I can eat. I mean, I exercise for various reasons, but I like to eat as well. And
I'm not going to try and pretend that I got this whole noble thing to be super healthy and fit. I just had a lifestyle. I loved fighting. I loved everything that came from it. I loved the adrenaline rush. I loved being able to be the winner. At the end, it was it's huge, huge high. I don't think I ever needed a drug as long as I had that.
Yeah.
So I trained to keep that up, not to be fit. I trained to eat, not to be fit. But back then, you know, the health craze was Suzanne Summers' thing that you squeezed with your knee.
Wow.
5 master or something like that.
Yeah.
Jack LaLanne, you know, hold
Yeah.
up. This is 10 pounds of fat, but everyone joined this gym, but they never went. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Anytime you
well,
want to
glad
come on.
you had me.
Yeah. Let's keep talking about whatever. Cool.
Well, we can get into. Did a lot of work for a lot of good rock bands and stuff, and
Yeah. See, I don't know anything about that.
yeah, well,
All right. No, real quick then. Number one rock band.
that I worked for.
Yeah.
Well, I can give you 3:
All right. 3.
Megadeth, Aerosmith, and Guns N' Roses.
I never heard of them.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Van Morrison, maybe.
I'm just kidding. I know all of them. Yeah.
Well,
I like all of them actually. So
Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Well, we really appreciate it. Any other time you want to come on, let us know. Cool.
I'm good.